Good evening, Stunthangar fans. Here we are again on a Monday night. It is December the 16th, Monday night, 2016. So, welcome, all you Stunthangar fans and aeromodelers around the world. And we're here to talk about planes, trains, and automobiles. Anything you want to talk about that you like to do in your workshop. And the links are posted in the usual places. That would be in the Stunthangar Control Line Forum, in the At the Bench thread, and that's on the same page as the Open Forum, which is the main forum page that lists all of the forum sections. And underneath the Open Forum, which you see at the top, scroll down and look for the section called At the Bench. The links to come in live with your microphone and camera are in the first post. It's got today's date in it in the first thread. In the title, you'll see today's date. So just click that link, that top link, and you can come in and join us live. And those who prefer to do otherwise can use the live feed on the Stunthangar YouTube channel and watch the live stream there. And there's a video chat box that, as always, you can use it to communicate with us and be included in our conversations with text, just typing. And if you're in there, there's also a way to donate if you feel like contributing some to our cause, which is to bring control line and all other types of aeromodeling to people around the world. Then there's a block $sign at the bottom of the chat box. If you can click that, then it'll allow you to contribute a little ching to our coffers, and it is for Sparky to pay server fees, equipment costs, and all of the money it takes to keep Stunthangar going and to keep it free for all of us. And hopefully, we're performing a good entertainment experience for you. We do the best we can, and we try to keep it family room friendly because there are YouTube, Google, and the rest are all cracking down, and in some ways rightly so. Wish they would be a little more clear about their wording about what they expect of us, the creators. But meanwhile, I think we're clean and free if we just watch our cussing and try not to get too wild with that. And we also don't allow children to come in at this time. And that's not my call, but that's the way it's got to be, I'm told. I think it would be okay if their parents accompany them, but for the time being, till we see how all of this shakes out, and what happens with other channels who are doing the same sort of a service we are, we'll wait and see how they handle that. So, and I'm sorry, I enjoy it when you can bring your kids and grandkids on, but we're just restricting that for right now. But anyway, I think that about wraps it up for the introduction. And my first guest, as has been the case lately, is Tom Randall. How are you tonight, Tom?
Hi, Rusty. I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. I had an excellent weekend. It's Monday again. It seems like those Mondays come around as fast as Fridays do. But I always look forward to Friday, and it's come and gone as fast as it happens. Got Jack Snavely just dropped in. He says, "Hello again, people in Stuntland, Rusty and all else." Thank you, Jack. And Gary and I have been working on the calendar and are getting down into the final proof. Just got a few punctuation uh, uh, remarks and things to work out, and it'll be ready to go to press. And hopefully, we'll get them out before the first of the year, but we'll get it out as soon as we get it all fixed up and ready. And you weren't here for the calendar production last year, were you, Tom?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, well, it's a nice little thing to have. Anybody that didn't get one last year will get the CD case because it fits. The little cards fit in a clear CD case, and so you can flip through them that way. And everybody that already has a calendar from last year can just reuse the CD case that you got with that one. But anyway, yeah, appreciate anybody that sent. And yours is a good picture. You got a picture in. Forget which month you are, but you've got that big red. What's it called?
It's called a Polaris.
Polaris. That's right. Yeah, that's a great looking
It's
picture.
it's based off of the North Star was the gas powered plane, the original design, and then when they designed electric ones, then they called them Polaris. The Polaris.
Yeah, that's a good looking plane, and it takes a good picture too. So you holding the Polaris, got
That
yourself
flies really well. It can land on the water and take off from the water.
Is
And
it styrofoam?
it is made of foam, pink foam, um, just like you get at the Menards or Home Depot or home store place. It's 3/4 inch thick foam. I've never
Yeah.
weighed it. I should weigh it sometime. It's fairly light, but um, has a really wide flying envelope. You can fly it at a real steep angle of attack, real slow.
Mm-hmm.
And if you open it up wide open, it's pretty fast too.
Yeah,
So,
the whole fuselage is a lifting surface, isn't it? Pretty
yeah,
much.
the fuselage also has a step in like a boat hull with a step so that it can break free of the water easier.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, is
so it
that
has
okay?
really
That makes sense. I never realized that that's what the steps in a boat hull are for, but that makes a lot of sense. I'm not a boat guy, so I hadn't put enough thought into that, but it makes sense with aerodynamics as well as hydrodynamics.
right. That plane has a really good water handling capabilities also. So it's just a great flyer. I really enjoy flying that one.
You could build you a little mannequin on skis and a rope to pull behind it while you're going across the lake. It'd probably go across that snow-covered frozen lake behind your house too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to do it without the snow on top, but that would cushion it some.
Right.
And so is it a ducted fan, or I didn't notice the power plant?
No, it's a propeller, but the propeller is mounted to the tail. There's the um, the vertical stabilizer is reinforced with plywood on each side, just
Yeah,
16 or 64th plywood,
yeah,
and that gives it enough strength. And then the motor's mounted up in the tail, and so you've got rudder, elevator in the tail, and then ailerons on the. Or actually, it's yeah, no, it does have elevator and ailerons. Yep.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. And there's all the guys sent great pictures this time. I think this year's group of pictures is better than last year's in some ways. So we had good ones both times, but I'm glad people are participating. It was like pulling teeth last year because it was new and everybody didn't quite understand what we were doing at first, and they were slow to get on board. But this year they jumped right in and sent Gary a bunch of pictures, and I think he already had some left over from last year, maybe too. That would have helped. But I got him the final ones for me, and I sent them to him yesterday. So hopefully he's got except for grammar and punctuation, I think we've got it all laid out. Or I should say Gary's got it all laid out. I don't know what he's using, whether it's Microsoft Publisher or something like that, but he does a real artistic job of it. And And so it's work to be proud of. It's professional looking stuff.
Good. Did you make it out to the shop this weekend?
Yes, I did. I got out there yesterday and spent about 2 or 2.5 hours. It was pretty chilly, especially on that concrete floor. And so I set my space heater up. I only dare run one space heater on one circuit in there because this is 1948 wiring, except for any sockets and switches I've replaced on the wall. But everything underneath the wall is like I don't even want to know. I'm always going around feeling the wall to see if it's warm whenever I'm working with power tools. And of course, I only use one power tool at a time. And now that we've got some LED and CFLs, they don't draw near as much current as the old halogen lighting and even incandescent um, lighting. And so I feel a lot better about it now. But I've got a freezer in there. I don't think modern freezers draw much, but I just, in the back of my mind, the fear of it just bursting into flames is always bugging me. So I'm real
Sure.
careful about that. But the heater warmed it up to where it's tolerable. Doesn't do much about the cold floor, but I've got some good mats to stand on. So I went out and my plan was to work on the Hyper Viper because I want to get it off the table and done so I can get back to my main stunt ship, the Cardinal, and get that wing built. And my plan was to um, inspect that Hyper Viper where I had hollowed the fuselage out and shine a light up and see where the thin places were and just smear a little bit of superfill in those areas. And there was one place where I had gone through with just a tiny little hole. And so I thought, well, let's see, I'll graft a piece of balsa to that. So I started to open it up a little bit with a file. And before I knew it, I had a half-inch obliquely square hole, rectangular hole. And I'm trying to stick one of those popsicle stick shaped things you pop out of the ribs on another model. You know, I got a box full of those and glue it in and sand it and before I knew it, I had screwed more wood up than I had fixed, and the hole where the venturi sticks out was really thin, and in my ham-handed fumbling, I cracked a piece there, and so I'm like, oh my gosh! But by the end of my session, I had managed to recapture everything that I had messed up and get it under control, make sure that the motor holes were drilled in the right place, and next time I go out, I can do the superfill and probably put some fiberglass on the canopy and actually move forward a little bit. So it's getting my head back in the game's hard, you know,
Yeah.
because I've been out of it for so long. I'd forgotten how when you work with balsa wood, how it's so easy to break stuff, and so you know, I spent a lot of my time relearning how not to break the balsa that I'm working with. But I had a good
Sure.
time, and I was happy. Got. I was happy I spent that much time out there with my tools and my models. So it was good.
Yeah, I'm
And
glad you're
I
able
hope.
to get back to the shop again.
Yeah, I need to make that a regular event, and I'm still doing my home PT uh, work. You know, staying strong, and I feel like I'm still getting a little bit stronger every day. So we're back in the game. Be a
That's
while
good.
before I
That's
fly,
great.
but we're back in the game now. At least when I come in here, hopefully I'll have something I did in the shop to talk about rather than trying to dredge it out of memory or think up something else, you know, to fill in the gap with. Depend on
Sure.
y'all to come in with your projects. I'll have something to contribute to.
I had two Christmas party dinners, aviation related Christmas party dinners this weekend, and then two Christmas programs from the grandkids. So had a busy weekend doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
One of the dinners was Friday night. We at the Buffalo airport, and the Saturday dinner was with our EAA Chapter 878 group, and
Hmm.
we had a guest or one of the members actually that spoke on their flight to Alaska, which was pretty interesting with lots of video and pictures of Alaska, flying in Alaska and flying down the river below the
That's some
treetops.
adventurous flying in Alaska, and you gotta be a different sort of pilot to be able to brave the wilds of the tundra and fly in the mountains without getting trapped into a gap that you can't turn around and back out of.
Yeah.
So
And landing
there's a,
on sandbars, and
yeah,
it
there's a
was
show
interesting.
called there's a show called Flying Wild Alaska. It's not on anymore, but they did a couple of seasons, and it was about a guy that owned his airport. His name was Jim Tweedo. It was in Unalakleet, Alaska, and he had several airports around that he serviced in and out of there. And I learned a lot about flying in Alaska from that show. And it was a reality show, but it was pretty realistic. They didn't try to hide the fact that it was a reality show, and that was
I
really
watched it too.
interesting.
I
You
watched that
did you?
too. Yes, and I feel well. What I felt about the show itself is that they didn't mess around trying to put Hollywood in it.
No, I don't think
I
they
thought it was
recreated much.
no. I think they were just straightforward. This is our life. This is and they
Yeah,
put some of their moments over there. No cover
yeah,
ups. No Hollywood. Kind of like, whoa, this is happening or whatever. But
yeah. Drama
actually,
and
it was
cliffhangers.
yeah, it was no
That
staging.
Jim Tweedo was a really no nonsense guy, and that's aviators are like that. And he was a supremely good aviator. I had a lot of respect for him and the way he treated his people and his family.
Yeah.
Another show I like is Airplane Repo. Now they do
Oh,
Hollywood
that's
that show
fun.
up a little bit.
Oh,
That's a
they do.
fun
They do.
show.
They do Hollywood that one up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty
but
sure
it's
they
fun
do.
to watch.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think they recreate a lot of stuff on that. I don't see any way they could do that one in real life, but it's still fun to watch.
Mhm. Cool. Yeah.
So, what'd you do this weekend? Just rest and relax?
Study like mad.
Yeah, that's
Study like a
tough
maniac.
work.
It's like I swear to God, physics too is just a grueling. Is grueling. The amount of material that they try to teach you in such a short amount of time is just I mean they should split it in 2 semesters easily if they want to cover that much.
Yeah,
And it's just too fast of a pace, too much to worry about. So yeah, but today I had my final exam, final exam. So right now vacation. Yeah.
well, excellent.
So
Congratulations.
so
A well
so
deserved vacation, no
so
doubt.
guess what I'm doing? I pulled up my soldering gun.
Soldering.
I spent like $25 um, over the past weekend, and I purchased a bunch of little switches. It's like a two-way switch that you can put them on a board, like an RC switch. See
Yep.
that?
Yep.
And
Single double throw.
I bought
There we go. Now you see.
5 of these Arduino Nanos, and just to get an idea how small they are, it's about this big. So not much
Yeah,
heavier than anything, much of anything out there. So what I did after that, I took the Nano, I put it on it's called a breadboard, in which you just make connections and put parts on it, pieces, resistors, whatever, and test your program, see if everything works fine. Then I got my soldering gun out. I hardwire everything into one of them, and the result is, this is the result here.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So I just put it here. It sits with a Velcro, just like that.
Yep.
And there it is.
All ready to test, huh?
Yeah, I already run a program in it and stuff like that. So to put a program in it is pretty simple. You just connect it with a little mini USB, and that kind of tells me that it's connected. And here I'm gonna pull out the Arduino on my screen, and I'm
I just typed in a thank you to Jack Snavely. He just sent us a super chat donation. Thank you very much, Jack. We appreciate that. They've been kind of sparse lately. All right. Looks good, Trent.
So here's it. It's uploading now. What I'm doing, I'm just done uploading. It's ready to go now. So now I have a new program in there, basically. So what you do, you just connect it. Like
Is that the
and it's
is
not
that the
armed.
Walter Rumlin twister, or is that a SIG twister?
It's a SIG twister. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now nothing happens because I put the switch in here. I'm not sure if you can see that. The switch here, and as you can see, the power comes from the ESC, goes through here, and the hot wire is being on the switch, the red wire. And when you turn it on, it's arming. It's doing
Don't
this
let it
stuff.
fly into your face.
Yeah, hopefully not. I'm going to turn it off as soon as. So, and then before the flight starts, it's going to give me a warning. Then both lights come on. And when they come off, so I just stopped the program right now because I don't want to make too much noise.
Nice.
But
Looks
that's
good.
it. That's it. And I have the same warning before it lands. So that's and it cost me. Let's see. I'm gonna let me switch back to our feed. All right. So I purchased 5 of these guys for $16, and about, I don't know, I think I have about 20 of these guys for another $5 or so. So total was about $23, $24. So basically for $24, I can make 5 of these timers.
Yeah.
And a little bit of soldering or something like that. So $5 a piece, and I think they're pretty nice. You have LED warning, you have a takeoff schedule, a landing schedule, you have a body, you have a gain in the middle of the flight. So if you want to bump up the RPM as the flight progresses, you can have that too. That's built into the simple program that's in here. So that's that's that simple stuff. I'm happy. I mean, just this is now I'm legally, if I want to go somewhere and be flying legally, control line, not with a remote control connected to the plane. And yeah, I'm going to share something with you guys if you want to see this.
How you doing tonight, Charles?
Hey, doing well, Rusty. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Good.
I got some shop time in. I was just telling Tom about that a few minutes ago when he asked me, and so I'm officially back in the action.
All right.
So So can you guys see this? Is it becoming
Yeah, I
pretty
see
clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got it.
All right.
Yes.
So as you open this program, actually, let's do it from the beginning. You just go here and
Ooh.
open the program. So it's turning the program on right now. Hang on. And there it is. So I open it. So it comes directly here. So file open, and you open
We just
whatever you
lost
want to have.
screen.
You just open this program in particular. That's its name, okay? And when
Right.
you open, it comes up to this page, right? So
Right.
basically,
Yep.
this is the program. But this is nothing. You just don't mess with any of this stuff. Just at the beginning. So you have a start delay. This is how many seconds you want to have a delay before the motor starts and you start your flight. This is in seconds. It says enter flight delay time in seconds. So if you have 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever you want to have, right? And then you have the flight in minutes and seconds. So you have a 4 minute and 30-second flight. So you put 4 minutes here or 4 here and a 30 over here, right? So that makes flight time 4 minutes and the flight time in seconds. So 4 minutes and 30 seconds, kind of like this, right?
Mhm.
And now for the, it even says timer events. You see that? And then you have the flight power in percentage of power. You want 80% power during the flight, whatever. This is set for 80%. At the end of the flight, it's going to have 85+% because they add them up, right?
Hmm.
So that's the way this works, right? So this is how you set your main flight time, right? And then you have some takeoff parameters if you choose to use them, right? And what's the end power that you have on takeoff? Maybe you want to fly a little bit faster than normal flight, right? In takeoff, so you can have nice line tension, lock it in, windy, turbulence, whatever you have. So you want to fly a little bit faster than normal flight, right?
Oh, wow.
So you just put here whatever you want to have. Say you want to fly it a little bit faster, say 90% for takeoff power and it says how fast you want to get up to the 90% from 0 to 90. And in particular, this one is 3 seconds. So as soon as the motor starts to run, in 3 seconds, you're going to go from 0 to 90% power.
Wow.
So that's as simple as that, right? After it takes off and runs the first 5 laps, it's going to drop. The power is going to revert to this to the power that you set for the flight itself.
Right.
And then you come here, you see that it says land parameters, right? So you have a
Right.
start power for landing and an end power for landing, right? So what's going to happen is after you receive your LED signals and telling you like, hey, I'm going to shut down, right? When the LEDs come off, then it initiates the land power, right? Now, if you're in FAI mode or something like that, you just set initial to 0 and the final to 0, so you stop everything, right? And the rest doesn't matter anymore if you set this to 0, right? Other than that, otherwise, say you want to land, like have a glide land with the power on at idle, you want to land, and then you want the motor to stop, right?
Right.
So you can set the start point, the start RPM, and the end RPM. Let's say you want to go from the start RPM to the end RPM. Let's say from 75 power to 40% power, right?
Okay.
And you want to do this in 3 seconds. So if you can imagine you flying level and you're ready to land, the land starts on and the power already comes on. So you already are in your glide slope, the motor slows down nicely, whatever, So that's a 3 seconds. And after that, it's going to hold it. See this number 2, land time number 2,
Yeah.
5 seconds. It's going to hold that low power for an additional 5 seconds. Okay.
Wow.
So you touch down, the plane comes to a stop, the motor idles like that, and then so 3 plus 5 is 8 seconds. So that's a complete landing routine, right? 3 seconds to ramp down, and the next 5 seconds is going to hold it over there. After which it shuts down the motor, and
Wow.
you can change this and shut it completely off if you don't want to. If you
Wow.
want to just have a complete shutdown, but if it's a beautiful
When,
day, want to show off, whatever, And
Trey, and when you're out at the field, do you have to use your laptop, or have you got a pocket display you can plug in and set basic settings like RPM and duration and that sort, and the delay before it starts up, that sort of thing?
Right now, no. But you have any like little computer? Some of those phones, they're basically little computers. If you can attach a USB to it, or have an
Yeah.
attachment to lock in and put a USB to it, I'm pretty sure you can load the app for this thing and use that your personal phone, like an
Yeah, well, I
Android or
just
something like
remember
that.
when I was going out with Wayne when he started flying electric, he had a little pocket display, and I
Mhm.
think I think he bought it from whoever he bought his
Mhm.
ESC and control
Mhm.
and control modules with. So
Yeah.
wasn't sure if all of them were capable of doing something like that or not. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier than a laptop around.
Oh, true, but usually you don't have to change this a whole lot. Once you set it the first time and you're happy with it, then pretty much you don't set it after that, unless something major happens, right?
Yeah,
Like the wind is howling, or just you have some crazy kind of weather event, right? And all honesty, I think a laptop is not that, you know. Well, honestly, I didn't look into it to see what kind of phones can you use, if you have apps or something like that. I'm not sure. There might be an Arduino app um, for the iPhone too, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, some of the Arduinos have Bluetooth, and then you can Bluetooth connect to the iPhone.
did we just lose Tran?
I think we lost him.
We lost him temporarily, hopefully. Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Good, Charles.
So
How
how
was
cold?
your weekend?
It was pretty good. We had a garage sale. That's why wasn't here Friday night. I was trying to get prepared for that. So we had a garage sale, and then yesterday was my birthday, so it's a pretty good
Oh,
weekend.
happy birthday!
Happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Thank you.
Another one of those guys that's older than he looks.
Yeah.
I should say you look younger than you are. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if there's a good way to say it or not. That's kind of a backdoor compliment, isn't it?
no, I knew what you meant. I get it quite often, especially when I wear a hat. When I wear a hat, you can really, I think it really disguises that I'm,
Yeah.
62.
Sorry, I pushed the wrong button.
Okay. I was typing. Sometimes I'll accidentally kick somebody off or something. I'm glad it wasn't me.
Yeah. So no. That's it's none of that. It's not no such problem. Right. So, anyways,
So
but
try.
this
Have
was
you
a
flown
fun
that?
pro. What?
Have you flown that?
What, this plane?
Yeah, with that setup, with the lights and everything.
No, I just soldered it together tonight, and
Oh,
I
okay.
put it in, and I loaded the first program in it.
Oh, okay. I was curious.
So we should be fine. I don't see why not. I mean, just
Well, I have no doubts. I'm sure it's going to be terrific.
yeah, should be perfect. So yeah, I mean, I think it should be fairly easy for anybody to plug something into this and just program it for their needs, whatever their needs are. And there are no limitation to the program. I mean, you don't have a maximum time or a minimum time or whatever. If you, I mean, just you can add those limitations into the program if you can put something past that. Say you have a maximum of 5 minutes and 30 seconds maximum, and if you put 10 minutes after that, it's going to look at 5 minutes 30 seconds because it's the maximum. You can do that, but I'm not going to do any of that. So anyways,
Where did you buy the Arduinos? Banggood, or you get them from somewhere
Amazon, and I bought them.
Amazon. Huh?
I made the order in one day, and the next day it was here. It's
Wow.
crazy fast.
That is crazy.
I'm
Maybe
serious.
Maybe they dropped it on your porch with a drone.
I don't know about that, but I got home and it was there, and I think I ordered Friday and Saturday was already here by the time I got home, so, or something like that. So the next day or 2 days, So I'm thinking like for if somebody would want to have like a timer like this on their plane, I think it's achievable, and I think this is nice. It's like because you have a nice takeoff routine, and you can set your ESC to hard everything, right? And because you're ramping up from the program itself, you tell the ESC to just spool up slowly, then not much to worry about, right? So might be easier on
Yeah,
ESC
yeah.
programming
I've,
as well.
I've
And you
heard
can
of people that crank them up too fast and rip the nose to pieces.
yeah, that's yeah. I guess that's a bad way, bad building. I don't see how you can really you know rip a
Yeah, I
nose
think we're
away
talking.
unless you do some shitty crappy building. Honestly,
I think we're talking about somebody that had an ARF said they cranked his engine up to straight from zero to wide open, and it broke the motor mounts.
well, that's the magic word, arf,
ARF, ARF.
barf. I mean arf.
Yeah,
I haven't had an arf that I was completely happy with. Actually, the first ARF I bought, it was a trainer RC plane, and I had like I put it in a tree. And but when I looked at it after that, I was taking the covering. I said I'm going to repair this, and the holes on the leading edge were so big, and I was like, how in the world? It's like it was coming very slow, right? Uh, and uh, um, uh, and it was coming nice and slow, which is nice glide slope. Now no high speed, none of that stuff, right? And then I look at it and I was like, the leading edge sheeting, like say was this big, right? It was glued here, a little bit over there, a little bit over there. Just it was spot glue in place, and also was spot glue on the ribs because the ribs didn't fit the leading edge sheeting, and just it was so poorly made. No wonder it just crumpled on the lightest
yeah. I've
of
only
hits.
ever had one ARF that I bought, and that was an Oriental, and it wasn't too bad. I did replace the control control system in it from the bell crank and the lead outs and the long rod back, but it wasn't as bad as some of the earlier ones had been. I think it was one of the newest generation a few
Mhm.
years ago. But I flew it for about a year, I guess probably a couple of years, and finally wrecked it, and it's all gone now.
I see. Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, ARFs are great, if you want to practice on something and you don't care for
Yeah,
it.
that's, that's pretty much what I was doing. I'd never flown a full fuselage plane before, and I wanted to, and I didn't know how to
Uh-huh.
build one right off the bat. I just
Yeah,
never done it before, so I figured that was the easy way to
yeah.
get started and figure out what it is that makes up a full fuselage plane. But yeah,
Oh.
it needed some reworking too.
Well, the difference between a profile and a full fuselage is obviously is the shape of the fuselage, but what makes it so different is the fact that the full fuselage is it's like a hollow shell, right? And the
Yeah,
hollow shell has a lot more stiffness than a flat thing.
yeah,
Okay, so because it's a lot stiffer, what does that mean to us? And number one, that what it means to us, it's a much better motor run for an IC.
yeah, with internal combustion for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah. So it looks nicer. Number one.
yeah.
Number two, I think
After,
they're a little.
after my first mishap when I broke the nose on the Oriental and put it back together, that engine, it was an FP40, and that engine always ran away lean. I'd get it running great, and then 5 laps in, it would be
Mhm.
flying at 90 miles an hour. So,
Yeah.
I did learn about that, and I didn't know what was causing the problem at the time,
Uh huh.
but now,
Yeah.
later, now I know.
Uh huh. Yeah. I can definitely see that. Um. So that's one of them. It's more rigid. Number two, it's a little bit lighter because instead of having a half-inch plank, you have two 1/8 inch sides. and you kind of break even, maybe a little bit. You can build it lighter if you really want to, but not much. Just they're very comparable in weight. Like from a twister fuselage to a full body fuselage. So some motor run, and it looks nicer. So those are the three differences between them. Now, I could never get a profile plane motor to run perfectly. I think the closest to a good run that I've seen and the most rigid nose that I've seen anybody made was the Cardinal from Murnowski. But he put that big fat side cheek of balsa wood and went all the way back to the
Yeah.
wing, and he was building stuff very, very rigid, and rigid equals good motor run in IC.
The Walter Rumlin Twister's got a big old fat nose like that too. In fact, it's got cheek cowls on both sides so that the engine and tank both look recessed, although
Yeah.
they're actually mounted against the fuselage. But I like the way my Twister looks and flies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's like I got a kit as a present from Mark McKinney. We were talking about stuff, and he said, "Hey, I have a bunch of kits here. I'm not going to build them ever." So he had a twister and a vector, right? So I said, for my son's first plane, I said twister should be fine. And I flew a twister
Yeah.
before that. Was The guy's name was John, and he was flying in the Schaumburg area um, in Chicago, Sepulveda Basin in Schaumburg area. And they had a nice club over there. I mean, a bunch of people just meeting over the weekend, and every Sunday morning they have like 4, 5, 6 of them just going out and flying and having a good time. So I used to visit over there without a plane, and he would go like, "Hey, did you bring anything with you to fly?" And I said, "No, I didn't bring it." "Yeah, so you want to fly?" I said, "There." I said, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "Go grab the handle." I would go grab the handle, and he would fire up the motor, and he had a twister with a 40 FP, pretty much everything stuck. With everything was stuck, and that was a great flying plane. Yeah, the guys were getting a kick out of it. It looks like they were sitting and watching me flying his plane, and I said, "Look at it! Look at that guy flying your plane. He flies better than you ever flew it in your whole life." Anyways, but they were very nice. They're very good guys. So
Yeah, control line people are very nice people. They really are.
mhm, yeah, yeah, I have to say yes to that. Yeah.
I've been to Sepulveda Basin probably a couple times. I've been to a
Mhm.
contest once, the High Johnson there, and then the other time I was just flying, just
I,
sport
I think I
flying.
think I think I'm confused. Sepulveda Basin, it's in Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So it wasn't Chicago. Chicago, Schaumburg. No, my bad.
Yeah, Sepulveda Basin.
Hmm. Yep.
It's a nice field, nice park.
There's
Yep.
there's an author that used to write books, Jonathan Kellerman. I read a bunch of his books, and he was in the L.A. area. His character was
Hmm.
in the L.A. area, and he used to always write about that area, and I always pronounced it in my head Sepulveda, but I guess it's Sepulveda. Is that how you
Yeah,
say it?
Sepulveda. Yes,
That's how they.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. We have a lot of strange names out here in California.
Yeah, there was a guy on the radio just naming off silly California names, as he called it, and he had me laughing my ass off. I think he might have had a laughing uh, um, soundtrack too. I don't remember. I just remember laughing so hard I could barely drive the car. And a Cucamonga, so
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
kinds of kooky names. That's what he called it, kooky California names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Oklahoma and other places have a lot of Indian names. Those are some bizarre names also.
We got a lot of Indian names in South Carolina.
Oh, I bet. Oh, I bet. Absolutely.
well, I I definitely I'm looking forward to fly this thing and see how the program runs for me.
Oh, I bet. I know. I can imagine. A
Yeah,
new train to add to your fleet.
yeah. I mean, just yeah. It's actually my boy's trainer first plane. His first plane. He helped me build the wing. He helped gluing some things here and there. Not a whole lot of patience, but he worked on it. Long story
That's
short.
good. That's good. You have a little bit of ownership.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely has. And I wanted him to because it's maybe he's gonna make him to be paying a little bit more attention and be more patient and yeah, that's one of the goals that I had with this thing.
Where
And
you live in Fulton County? You live down south of downtown, don't you?
North Atlanta, yes,
Oh, you live in North.
yes,
Do you live in what? DeKalb?
much further north than that,
Oh,
in
up
Roswell.
like. Oh, okay. I didn't
Roswell, it's
realize
on 400 north. You take 400 north.
that's just north
400
of
is
Buckhead, right?
yeah, north of Buckhead. Yeah, yeah, we are outside of Atlanta, up north. So yeah, and yeah, I like to. I was thinking about you, Rusty. I said, because your condition, probably it's on you would be a lot easier to go electric instead of flipping the prop, trying to start motors and go crazy, and more consistent. You know what you're
Yeah.
expecting, and you can tune it to yourself. I like it. Like, well, this is pulling too hard. I want to be a little bit less, and it's easy.
I remember in my late days before I finally went down, I would get exhausted um, between cranking the cranking the plane and
Hmm.
getting everything right. And by the time I walked out to the lines, I was almost out of breath. And
Mm.
so you're right. Electric would simplify things so much.
Make it easier, more consistent. Then you don't care if it's a profile.
Yeah.
What one thing I have to say about electric, typically the motors and the batteries with the wiring and the AC are slightly heavier than the wet setup, but that not by much. Now, on the other hand, you don't need 1/8 inch doublers in the nose. You can just get away with no doublers at all.
Yep.
A 1/64 is more than enough for that. So you can take you can lighten up the structure in the nose, and those two doublers in the nose, just taking those two out, you're already breaking even with a with a wet setup weight.
Hmm.
So yeah, and the way I attach my stuff is just I use Velcro. I even reposition this Arduino because
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
like
like it
that.
vertical over there. I can just take it like this, and I say, man, I want to just put it a little bit more
Rip
forward.
it off in position. Yeah.
Stick it over there. I want this a little bit lower. I stick it over there. There you go. And say I like this. It was vertical here in the past, so I think I like this better. But it's simple. This is Velcro I got from Home Depot, and so yeah. If the switch is off, then when you connect the wires, it's not going to arm the ESC at all. Yeah, so that's that. Just it's so easy, just the way I have it set up. uh, I have a battery on this side, and I have some Velcro stuff here, and you just take the battery out.
Very
I have
good.
I have some little pieces of Velcro because I don't want it to slide back and forth. You can
Right.
see I have a couple of little spots here too, and so yeah, let's see the way it
Yeah.
works. You just open this
Don't have
up.
to worry about
Yeah,
shimming the tank to keep the fuel in the corner and all kinds of stuff you don't have to worry about with electric.
none of that stuff.
Hey,
Yeah, it's a whole lot simpler. So what I do here, I just I take the battery, I push it all the way into the back like this, and I just stick it down. Right now, I just stick it, holds with the Velcro, right? And then I
Right.
take this stuff that kind of goes. You see that how it works?
Right.
It threads in like this,
Right.
and this is from Home Depot. You can find this at Home Depot.
I follow you.
And they're already in this size and shape and stuff like that. All you have to do is just put them in. And actually, they are just about the right length for for this. It's just, for me, it works perfect. So there you go.
All right.
Now, is that a pancherized twister trying?
No, this is just a regular twister with a little bit different fuselage on it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like that ugly canopy, and I just like this a little bit better.
Oh, it looks better.
I like that with the turtleneck. That's kind of what the Fancher. That's kind of what the Walter twister looks like with that kind of turtledeckish thing
Yeah.
on the.
I think
And
the
on the
Fancher, the Fancher this twister has some, the wing is a little bit different. It has more like some half ribs. The fuselage is a little bit longer, and that's about it. But no, this is all stock. I just didn't want to mess with it. The only thing I've done different on this, I just put some adjustable lead outs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And on the opposite wing, I have a this for the weigh box, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a block of about half an ounce worth of aluminum on the inside. Is glued on the inside of the tip on the other side of this guy, right? And it has a 440 screw through it, threaded screw. So I need some extra ones, so I just put a screw right through it and just I tighten up the screw that's inside, actually.
I see.
It's just a block, and this is it.
Looks good.
Steve.
What's going on, Sparky?
Not a whole lot.
Hey, Sparky. Hey, Steve.
Hey guys. Well, Sparky, I figured out why I couldn't get on that leave a super chat. I hadn't registered my phone.
Yeah.
I put my phone on Google. Even though it's a Google phone. But yeah, tonight I finally got in there because my password would work on the computer, but it just wouldn't work on my phone. It wouldn't let me do anything. So finally I got that fixed.
Did you guys see how I drew the winner of the?
Yeah, I got to watch that and stuff. That was pretty neat with that generator. But it should have generated a much higher number closer to mine. But
Yeah. I can't see any more fair way to do that because I don't know whose number what, and you know.
So how do you know what number is what?
You go back into the form and look at the post.
see how many they are. Punch that in. I was watching today something on YouTube or whatever, and they talked about an app now. You can put a number generator on your phone if you want to do all that, that stuff. And that's what they said. You put in how many people they are, hit generate, and it picks a number.
Yeah, well.
It looks like Steve won it.
I didn't win.
I didn't win either.
Well, it was 23. I was 100 and something. I don't know.
Steve,
Well, what was the prize?
A electric vector ARF.
That's a nice prize.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be cool.
real nice price.
Yeah, it would have been cool. I was thinking about it.
I put it in there. I said, man, my boy would love to have it.
So, well, he still has a chance. Well, he's not a beginner, though. Steve donated it to the Nats prizes, so it's going to go to the Nats and be given to the beginners in Alan Brickhouse's name.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I thought that was nice. So,
I think one nice thing about our group is that we are so glad to see kids coming in, and we give them everything and then some. and that's very nice of the whole group. I think
Yeah.
lots of good hearts.
Yep.
Yeah, during the Christmas break coming up, my son has a friend who really wants to fly, so I'm gonna put together a plane to get my son and his friend to fly. They're both in the 8th grade, so I'm hoping to get my son's friend really excited about it, which will in turn maybe re-excite my son.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I got my wheel pants on and finished.
well, that looks sweet.
Yeah.
You start doping pretty soon on it?
It's already been doping.
Oh, okay.
This it's almost ready to paint.
Yeah, that looks beautiful, man.
Fill
I
it,
love it.
and I got a low spot here I got to fill in. So
You already got the silk span on the fuse, or?
yeah, Jap tissue on it. Yeah, it's got like I don't know, 5 coats of dope on the fuse.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be under 40 ounces. It's probably going to be a little over 40. The way you see it here, it's 35 ounces now. So figure a half ounce of tip weight. That's at least
Or-
half ounces of finish. I don't think I can do it in that amount.
So what's missing? Is it missing the motor now or what?
No motor's in it.
Okay, so we shouldn't add much more.
Is the muffler on?
Yep, muffler's on it.
Wow.
The prop is a half ounce. That's 35 ounces with the prop. So
Mm-hmm. Should be fine. I think at that weight and that size plane, I think it should.
Well,
be
yeah, remember,
beautiful.
Sparky, you added the wheel pants and struts. That adds weight. I mean, the little extra things, if you want them, is going to bring it up. That's all there is to it.
yeah, well.
That looks nice. That looks really nice.
Very nice.
My intent was if you were around in the 60s flying, the airplanes were stunningly finished, about as good as my Monado. Anybody who's ever seen the Monado.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yes.
And so my intention is to finish it as well as they did in the 60s.
Wow.
But they never had 40-ounce airplanes back then.
Yeah, they did.
They still got them with that kind of finishing in that weight.
Yeah, they had much better wood back then. But just like John and I were talking, you know, I was over his house. I don't know, I don't know how they did it because they're so hard. This is built out of 4.5 to 5 pound wood. You built it out of 3.5 pound wood. How do you handle it? Because every time you touch it, you break.
The only thing I can think of is that when they were flying Fox 35s, all up they weigh 6 ounces. Anything over that, you know, you're going to have 2 or 3 ounces. You can't, unless you're going to do a Fox 35. What are you going to do that light? Brodak 40, I guess, without a muffler.
Fox 35 has no poop, not like this motor.
Oh, I know it. But that's what I'm saying is there's a trade-off there because unless you run the Brodak 40 without a muffler, you got nothing that weighs in at like a Fox 35. You're going to add 3 ounces in the motor, muffler, and all that. So I think, you know, it's kind of hard to compare apples to oranges when you're going to have an airplane that has about twice as much power. It'll probably fly better, even though, you know, it's a few ounces over 40.
I could go with Ted Thatcher's thought. You know, he added 6 ounces of lead to the CG Tucker. I don't think it'll happen on mine.
I think it's a fly. Now, where's the cutoff for the 12 thousandths lines at?
I'm not sure. I'm not going to run 12 thousandths anyway. I'll run 15,000.
Okay. Because that's what Bob Hunt said on them, with the older ones like that too, is that he runs a 12, he likes to keep, I think it's 43 ounces or 44, and run 12, 12s on it, and how much better it flies.
Well, lighter lines do help, but I think I'll stick with 15,000.
Yeah, I
Russ-
don't like 12s. I tried them one time and they're more fragile than I could stand. Too easy to kink.
I have 3,000 foot of 12 or 15,000 wire, so I'm not going to buy any special wire.
Hey, John.
Rusty, you were asking the
John.
question about the programming of this. I just looked it up, and you can put Arduino on your iPhone. You
Oh,
can put the
okay.
software on the iPhone. So you can probably just save the program in your iPhone and have it over there. And if you need to make a change, just pull up your phone out of your pocket. Boom, 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 done.
Do it via Bluetooth or cable?
Cable, just put a USB. It's a USB. This is USB.
Yeah.
So there are ways around it. That's what I'm saying.
That's good.
Santa Claus is back.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Where'd
How
he
you
go?
doing?
I
I
got
told my boy there's a suspicious good-looking guy, in our forum sometimes.
Did you get that plan from Denny yet?
No, well, it might have come, but I'm back up in Salt Lake City. We're up here 5 days a week going to the cancer center for my wife.
Oh,
So if it's there, it's probably sitting at home.
You better get to the North Pole. You got a lot of work to do.
Well, Santa's magical. He can outfly you guys.
It can probably binge time. Too.
So
That
even
sleigh
running,
is rocket powered.
John, how's your wife doing?
Radiation's giving her a bit of trouble. She's not feeling well.
Not that not.
Yeah,
Mm.
but she's doing, for all intents and purposes, she's doing okay. It's just this is part of what you get when you start shooting people with radiation.
Yeah, or chemicals, whatever.
where does she
It's
have
all
it?
poison.
So what was that, Steve?
Where does she have the cancer?
She had it in her upper lip from her. It was from her left side over, and it just started out as a little small spot inside her lip. And before they took a biopsy, and before they could got the biopsy back, it had already grown halfway across her mouth and was growing outside of her lip. And it was a very fast growing cancer. They took it out, and the report was good. They said the edges were clear and all that, but they wanted to do they got, back up a minute. They checked under her neck and found that there were 3 lymph nodes had the cancer in it. And so they took those out. Fortunately, those had not burst or anything. They were all encapsulated. And so they decided they wanted to do radiation just to make sure. The poor gal is it's not an easy thing for her, as you can imagine.
Yeah,
Wow.
that sounds awful.
wow.
How's John Brodak doing?
I heard today not.
Yeah, last I heard, it's just kind of they were waiting for him to gain enough weight to have some surgery, and I think it's still wait and see on that. Will Davis talked to Buzz a couple of weeks ago and he didn't really have a lot that I can comment on. We're in wait and see mode with him.
Yeah.
But he's not doing that.
Well, our prayers, like yours, I'm sure, are for him. He's done a lot for this hobby.
Yep.
Yeah, sure has. I regret having never met the man. If he wasn't sick, I'd call him and introduce myself, but I'm not going to call him while he's sick. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to get that report. My wife is concerned. She liked going to Brodak, the contest. Of course, I've known John for a long time, and it's we're all concerned for him, as I'm sure every one of you are. Let's change the subject.
let's do. Yeah, that commences our health gripe session for the episode, sponsored by hospital corporations of the world.
Well, Steve,
Well, tell us about
looks
some
like
aeromodeling.
Steve looks like 6 months later. I finally got my timer.
Well, he finally shipped it.
No, I finally made it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I made it. I bought some components the other day. It was like 23, 24 bucks, and I can make 5 of them easy.
So have you flown it yet? Did you get a chance to?
No, I just tested out to make sure everything works, and it works as perfectly. And
Try to put it in the air this week, or
if it's nice, I'll try it. Yeah, I'll definitely try it. And
Trans officially on vacation.
yeah, from school. And I also finished the program for the timer that has a built into it like a automatic throttle control. That the program is done as well. So it's just a matter of just trying it out and implementing it. But what I want to do, I just want to do this first, the simple one first, and have that up and running. And after that, I'm going to do the one with the accelerometer also on this plane. And I'm going to try it first on this plane. And if it works good, I'm just going to move it and put it on my big plane too. And just make the transition. So that's pretty exciting for me. I'm happy. It's just cool.
Somebody needs to make an electronic timer or throttle control for a IC motor.
You can use this for IC motor. Just put a servo with a throttle control on it and use it.
Yeah, but there'd be a lot of whining.
Oh,
Why would it be whining? I mean, the same control we have in electric is the same control used over there. It's perfectly legal.
yeah.
Yeah, nobody's going to stop you from doing that. You'll have to readjust your motor in a different way.
I bet there will be somebody whining about it because Wendy did it and they whine.
Wendy did it through a infrared that he had in his pocket, not from the plane. And that's when they changed the rules to make it from the plane itself. That you cannot have like an RC control in your hand or something like that. Well, the only place that's for stunt. It's legal for scale, but not for stunt. So, and even if you had the scale plane, you could probably definitely also use the Arduino. They have special Arduinos that have built inside of them Bluetooth and stuff like that. So, and you can definitely use that, power it, and put knobs, whatever you want to have. You can have a whole cockpit on your handle if you want to.
So guys, I got on here late. I got to eat dinner and go to sleep.
Hi, Sparky.
All right.
Hey, it's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Sparky, your plane is beautiful, man. I love it.
Thank you. We'll see what it looks like when it's red and gold.
And when you finish it, I'll be more than glad to take it off of your hands. You know.
Yeah. I tell you what, I already thought about this. I don't know.
So it's a done deal, right?
If I don't like it, if I don't like the way it flies, I'm going to give it to Tommy Looper.
Yeah,
All right,
All right.
Well, good night.
Good night, Sparky.
Right.
Good night.
good night.
good night. Good night, Spark.
So, Steve,
Good night.
what I have on this timer built into the program, I have a first of all, I have lots of feedback. I have feedback because the motor tells me that it's armed, right?
Yeah.
I have feedback before it starts with the LED lights that blink and then it goes solid, right? And then it's when the motor starts, they come off, then the motor starts, right? I have a takeoff routine built into it, so I can ramp up the motor as fast as I want to or as slow as I want to, and I can maintain some kind of a end RPM for the duration of the takeoff. The main body of the flight has a gain into it, so like you have started the RPM and at the end we have a little bit faster running motor. And I also have a landing routine, and before it shuts down I also have the LED lighting that gives me the warning. So it's pretty nice, you know. And for a whole $5 that I spend on it and countless hours to learn programming and stuff like that, which is to me is fun, you know. That's, you know, just it's enjoyable. Now I have it, I know it, so I can play with it. And it's just like it was
Why
it
are
was
you going
nice.
to have it go faster at the end of the pattern?
What?
Why are you going to speed it up at the end of the pattern?
Some people have the batteries going low.
Oh, okay.
They want to bump it up at the end of the pattern. Maybe they want a little bit extra power at the end of the pattern. Now, that being said, I can probably modify the program so you just have a portion of the program with that ramping up or a different RPM. So let's say you fly the whole pattern, you do the horizontal maneuver, stuff like that, and just before you go into the vertical maneuvers where there are power hungry maneuvers, you bump up the RPM over there at that point.
Yeah, I think where you need to bump up the RPM is on your level laps.
You can do it.
Speed up there and then bring it back down.
Inverted, you mean your inverted lap?
Well, yeah, both.
For that, you need an accelerometer.
Oh, okay.
Because you need something that feeds it back and say, hey, I'm flying level now, right? But for the takeoff, you have it. You already have this in takeoff.
Well, I thought you could do so many laps and then go back to a different.
Yeah, for the takeoff only.
Oh, okay.
Question from YouTube about controlling the speed. Bob Bishop asks, is the speed controlled via PWM?
This is not the one with the accelerometer built into it. This is just the simple timer. The one with the accelerometer built into it, actually I'm using the gyro and the accelerometer in mine. It is a PID.
Yeah.
What does PWM stand for?
Pulse width modulated. And that's what
okay.
yeah, it's actually a servo signal. Yes, all servo signals are PWM, and the library in Arduino, it's a servo that outputs a pulse width modulated signal out to the servo ESC, whatever. So yeah, but I confused that question with the PID, which is a controller, a closed loop controller that I'm using for the one that's using the sensor.
What?
But it's not this one. It's going to be the next generation.
Well, there's PID, and then there's some other ones that do time over duration and.
The most commonly used is a PID controller, right? So you have three things that kind of work together to give you the throttle response that you're looking. So as long as you have something that you want to maintain, and you can do the difference between what you want to maintain and you have the actual. So you want to maintain something and the sensor gives you an actual, right? So if you do the difference between them, it's going to give some kind of an error, right? It's either too fast, too slow, whatever, to something, right?
Yeah.
And based on that, it does the math and sets up the throttle. So it reduces this error to 0, right? But you have some...
It eliminates overshoot if it's tuned properly.
Yeah. It's like the proportional
But it stands for what?
constant.
Proportional in
Integral
integral
and
duration.
derivative.
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 Yeah. So the proportional part of it, the first constant, it tells like how fast, how much of a change you have in based on the error, right? The bigger the number, the faster it wants to get up and close that error gap, right? The second one is the integral. I think the integral is looking at the gap. If the gap is not closing, it's going to keep adding more and more and more and more and more in the throttle. And if you think about like when an error is zero, proportional output is also zero, right? But now at that point the integral part takes over and maintains the speed, and the derivative part of it is what it does. It looks it is looking like how fast am I approaching the target, right? So if you're approaching too fast on the target, it's going to slow down the whole system because it's like I don't want to overshoot, and that's what you're talking about. The derivative is like overshoot. You don't want to go above it and below it and above it and try to hunt over it. You just want to just slow down as you approach it and stop there.
Exactly.
Yeah, because when I did that oven for Billy to make the pipes, I worked on a controller and got that thing so it would stay within a range of 1 degree over and 1 degree under.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, that was only $180 or something like that for that controller.
Mm-hmm.
But we did one at a bakery, and they wanted shit that was closer.
Mm-hmm.
And that one actually learned.
Mm-hmm.
We could put in the thing, and it would actually, we could come back in a day and then see what it did. And if we didn't like it, we could have it learn again.
Mm-hmm.
Until, I mean, that damn thing would keep within maybe a half a degree or better. I mean, we hardly ever seen it change.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is that it takes in account variation in your system. Like let's say the pump is working a little bit less, you have a little bit less power, electricity from the power, which gives you less. It's like it takes in consideration all these variables that affect your system, right? And it holds you very steady because it's like just bump it, adjust it, and it's so automatic. It's beautiful. PID is awesome. Now after I learned it, I was like, I never knew about it. So I started to look into it and I learned about it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I said, this is simple. It's not complex. It's just simple stuff. Once you understand it, I mean, it's just simple. Like anything. Like you drive the car for the first time, you're scared shitless, right? And after a while, I know how to drive a car. It's simple, right?
I didn't realize
when I first suggested PIDT, you said you didn't need that. I think you've changed your mind now.
Possible. That tells you I'm not that stubborn. I listen, and I was thinking about what I had in mind was just the proportional part of it, but then I realized it's not going to work, right? And then even somebody on a forum was telling me about it, and I started looking into it, and I started learning about it, and just understand it, and just until I got it solid and I understood it. I look at the code that they gave me a sample over there, and I adapted it to my stuff over here, and it's not that hard. It's not that hard. I mean, just heck. You look at the code in Arduino or something like that. Everybody will look at the code like, oh my God, this is so hard. Oh, what kind of language is that gibberish over there, right? And you need to realize that I never did Arduino or any kind of components or the electronics or shit like that any time before the last month or so. So I'm just 1 month into this, and I got to this level. Anybody that, if you put your mind to it and you want to try to do something, you can do it. You just have to want it. Simple as that.
I just like that the one that learns though. Now they put some kind of brains in that damn thing.
Mhm.
You know, artificial intelligence, I guess.
Yeah. Check this out, Steve. I'm gonna turn this light off so you can see it. So you connect this on. So it's on. You see the Arduino is not running yet until I just flip the switch over. See, it's on.
Watch your prop. Watch your prop.
That's a feedback that I have over here, right?
No.
And then before it starts, about 5 seconds before the time starts, it's going to start to blink back and forth. Then they're going to go solid for 2 seconds, turn off. And that was the takeoff routine I was spooling up, and it was just the program was running, right? And after that point, you do the flying, and after the flight, before the flight is over, you're gonna see the LED go bling 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 like that, and it goes solid, and finally, they slow down the motor and shut it down for landing. So that's the way this thing works.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Freddy or whatever. It gives you and it gives you 5 seconds to before the motor quits, so you can get it, which we are playing with, but we need more playing to know wherever you're at in the circle. If it gives you 5 seconds to get back over to where you want to start your landing instead of a cutoff loop.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. On this one, I have a landing routine. Obviously, in FAI, you have to shut down the motor, right? In mine, I have a ramp down, and you can maintain the low RPM for another time, and you can customize this. Now for FAI, obviously, it's going to put the ramp down the time to ramping. You'll set your ramping down time to 0. Or actually set both times to 0, and it's going to turn off the motor.
Yeah, but what you need to do is have like 5 seconds of 4-second laps. So
you can do that. You can do that.
You know, at 5 foot, they don't start marking your landing. So you need that thing just hauling ass and quitting, and then it'll make the lap.
In that case, you set up a start RPM, maybe your flight RPM, and the end RPM at 100%, whatever, to give it 2 seconds. So you're going to get 2 seconds to get from flight RPM to max. And then you maintain that max RPM for whatever you want to keep it. And you can customize it any way you want to, as long as you have a start RPM, end RPM, sometime, and from the end RPM, you maintain that for a secondary time. So anything is, you can slow it down, you can speed it up. You can speed it up in 10 seconds. You can speed it up in 1 hour. Whatever the heck floats your boat, over there. and
when we were there in France, nobody could get a lap. Unless these guys are running, dragging their airplanes around. It looks stupid, Then their landings ain't very well. But if you could really speed that thing up so that it would actually go 1 lap, I mean.
Yeah, it's very simple, because at the end of the flight, it's a body where the flight body, right? And that's the body where I'm using I'm using the simple one. This one over here uses the start RPM, and at the end of the flight is the same RPM plus a little bit of a gain if you want to fly a little bit faster at the end. And so that's the body right now. Then you go in the landing routine. In the landing routine, you have a start RPM. You have three waypoints, right? Where the landing routine starts, and you have a middle point and an end point. And all these 3 points are customizable as time between them and difference in RPMs to whatever you want to have.
That guy from Poland, he's making 11.7 and 12.7 electric props. And
Okay.
they're supposed to be light like Igor.
I see.
So 25 euro, that's not too bad for.
No, that's a good price. It's a very good price for a composite prop. Yeah, it's a good price. And is it the 3-blade, the 2-blade? What is it?
2 blades are 25, 3 blades 35.
Mhm.
I think the 4 blade is 45.
Okay. So I think it's a good price
Yeah.
for a prop, and I think I did hold one of those props in my hand. Actually, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what Paul Walker said. You know, the reason why he went to a regular prop was because that's the only one Igor made in it. The prop was so much lighter; it was easier for the speed controller and the timer to adjust the RPMs of the motor faster. The
Yep.
heavier the prop, the harder it was for it to.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know.
when when I was talking to people way back when, and I told them like, hey, they were talking about the props, and I said my props are lighter, and I use a little bit more diameter because of that. And oh no, it's not. I say yes, it is, and they just kind of shut me down a little bit. I said, okay, you believe what you want to believe, but when I made my own props for the IC motors, I was using at least half an inch more diameter because they were so much lighter. And it's the way I was trying to explain it is like having a prop is like a plane flying through the air, right? And you have an aerodynamic load on the plane, and you have the mechanical load, right? And for the prop, mechanical load is like a baseball player, right? If you can swing one bat or you can swing 3 bats, which one is easier to swing? I mean, and it's
One bat.
Oh, obviously, and you have So the lighter the blade, the less mechanical load you put on the motor, and the motor doesn't care. It cares about the load on the motor to run right. If you don't load the motor properly, you either have just a 4-cycle all the time, or just goes into the 2-cycle and stays there, doing the whole maneuver and runs away on you. So if you don't load it correctly, so it doesn't matter what you load it with. You can put a baseball bat in front of it. If you load it correctly, it's going to run fine. It's not going to go anywhere, but it's going to run fine. So, but load is load. And I was trying to tell him, and I was saying at the time, I said, you have an aerodynamic load and you have a mechanical load. And you add them both up, you have the total load on the motor. No, it's not that, whatever, So, and look now at the electrics. Everybody, I want a lightweight prop because I don't want to load the motor. Didn't I tell you this in 1996? Hey, it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out, right? So that was one of the things. Like when people were flying with my props, they put my props on their planes and said, "Man, I have line tension where I never had it before." More diameter, more thrust.
Well,
Anyway.
what I like is that he's making 6 and 7 pitch for electric, which I believe is a lot better.
Yeah. Well, see, this is not a misconception. I said it before, and I was trying to reason with it, right? And I said, maybe there's a method to their madness, right? But the more I think about it, the more I disagree with you. Okay. And this is what I disagree with, right? Electric motors give you the maximum efficiency at 0 RPM. So the lower the RPM you spin it, the more efficiency you have. And the IC motor are opposite. They give you the most efficiency at high RPM. They create a torque, and when you push them and you pump the gas in them, right? So this gives you the efficiency towards the high end. So I said it doesn't make any sense to use the same propeller that you use an IC motor on an electric plane. And the difference between them is that an IC motor loves a low pitch, high RPM because it's happy over there. and produces lots of power. Electric likes a big propeller, big diameter, high pitch, low RPM. Guess what? They both produce the same speed. They both produce the same thrust. So as you corner the plane and you accelerate, the thrust is what gives you the acceleration to get back up to speed, right? It's just simple math. And if you don't have, I mean, it's like you have to maintain the thrust. Okay, so to maintain the thrust at a lower RPM, you need to up the diameter and up the diameter, low RPM, increase the pitch, which plays beautifully into the electric hands. So,
Yeah, I know on that page for the guy from Poland, he was saying that new Ford blade for the whole pattern only uses 1600 milliamps.
Doesn't surprise me. I use a 12.6 on mine, and I use 14.
You know, so, but yeah, I mean, that's hardly. Samantha was using over 2,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know,
I never ever use more than 1450, if that. Ever. I had some flights in the 13s. I'm not using any power on mine. Just like it just doesn't. It's sipping the power.
But I was thinking, you know, they say that the more blades, the less efficient or whatever.
True.
And
True.
even with a 4-blade, only using 16, I mean, that's not bad at all. If you wanted to go all in line or do like John's doing, dropping it below the inline.
I think if you want to a two blade, like a 12.5 7, 13.7, it'll probably be even better. And it's not losing anything.
But what I'm saying is that with that design of John's, the thrust is below the thrust line.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to be able to go with a very big propeller.
Yeah.
So if you went to a 4-blade there and it was that efficient still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you get your thrust from more blades, less diameter, or less blades, more diameter.
Yeah.
It's just, and if you don't have the ground clearance, I think that's the only reason for which I'd go to a 3-blade, 4-blade prop. If you don't have the ground clearance, that you're forced to do that. But the efficiency goes down pretty fast, you know.
I've got a question, Tran. What's the difference? I know on IC, now I'm flying at I found out what it is, 4,600 feet. And at 4,600 feet, I can set up a plane to fly. But when I go down, say, to California to go to a meet there, I'm burning more fuel on an IC, and but I have more efficiency off the prop because of the thicker air. Does that affect the electric as well? And how do you adjust for it?
Well, on an electric setup, it doesn't care if it's at 0 altitude or in outer space. It's gonna run the same. It doesn't give a shit about the air density or anything like that. Now, what you are talking about is about the aerodynamic load, right? The denser the air, the more aerodynamic load you put on anything, right? That's why planes go to 30,000 feet and where the air is so thin and just stuff like that, they can punch through and just move, right? They can't do that at sea level because they're just going to break apart. So as the altitude lowers, you know, you have more air density. The air is thicker and heavier. So what happens over there? You need to move. You're moving more air. You're punching through more air with the airplane. So, you know, but I think it's a little bit proportional, right?
Yeah, you know, it's like when we took Samantha's airplane, flew it here, and then we took it to Brodax. It's higher altitude there, and we end up we use a little more battery there because we speeded things up, but it wasn't very much because I think we ran little more RPM, but the air was less dense or whatever, so it was easier for the airplane to go through it.
Mhm.
And there wasn't hardly any difference that I've seen so far
Mhm.
to get the airplane to fly like you want it to and what speed, because
Mhm.
the one goes away when you bring the other one up. You know, you need the prop run a little faster because the air is less dense, but yet the airplane goes through the air a little easier. So
The most beautiful part of it is that if you go from your place to California and you figure out like, hey, I want to fly much denser air. Hey, I can fly a lot slower now and still stay out there on the line. It's so easy to make the change. I mean, just stupid easy.
yeah,
And you pull up your Android, your laptop, whatever, and you go there. I was 80%. I want to be at say 77 right now. 77. Clank, clank, loaded in a plane. You're flying at a 77 now, and you can put a 1 minute flight. I'm just gonna put a 1 minute flight. So you fly it over there. It's like I can go a little bit slower even or whatever, and you just slow it down. The making changes is just effortless. I mean, it just does stupid easy. And it's consistent. After you made the change, it's gonna stay there. You don't worry about engine running away, changing the fuel because you went to the lower altitude, more nitro, less nitro, whatever. Change the tune pipe length because now you're at a different altitude. You have a different air density now, different resonance. Now you have to change the tune pipe length and whatever you have to change. I mean, it's just such a big mess, and if you don't know what you're doing, it takes forever to make those changes. Not in electric. I mean, it's effortless.
the only thing that really gave us a little problems is that when we were in France, because it was really gusty wind and Samantha wanted a few extra laps. So we went from, I think, 5 minutes, 10 seconds to 5 minutes, 20 seconds.
Mhm.
And that 10 seconds, we're just adding 2 laps, took the battery right to 80%.
Mhm.
If we wanted 4 laps, we'd have went over that.
Mhm.
And that's that. You just can't add more fuel in that battery. That's the only, you need that.
Mhm.
I think you should size a battery normally for really no more than 65%. That way, if you need
Mhm.
to move up in time or whatever,
Yeah.
that you're not going to hurt the battery. You
Well,
get
this is
real
another
close,
discussion I tried to start, right? I tried to start a discussion in electric stunt, and I said, why don't we design planes for electric? It just makes sense, right? And it's like, well, the general idea and answer I get because we've always done it like this. So, and I said, why would you? It's like, first of all, power plant wise, right? You want big prop, high pitch, low RPM, engine happy, right? You don't need those huge doublers in the nose. You can build a nose very light, very minimalistic. 1/8 inch plywood. I mean, balsa wood shells with uh, with a little bit of even 164 plywood doublers. If that, you don't even need that. We just need a more where to put your nose ring. That's about it. So all this stuff that's being added into it, and it's like you don't need, right? Then um, planes. I think our planes right now is especially the Stregas and stuff like that. The airfoil is just insanely thick for what it needs to be. I'm running at 16% with 14 on a tip, perhaps the most slender wings that are out there, and it cuts through the wind just fine. But it's never charging on a downline. It's not just like oh, it's not slowing down or whatever. It doesn't happen, right? So and if you build a light plane and with a thinner airfoil, actually you don't need this thick airfoil anyways to begin with. So I think we could probably just start at 15, 13 or something like that and still be plenty fine, even with that, without charging. I'd try that. I would definitely try that, So now if you have a thinner airfoil, guess what? The electric motor is going to run a lot easier because now you're cutting through the wind instead of just plowing through it like a bulldozer, stuff like that. So things become efficient, right? So you build for the application. It's just like it's two different philosophies, and then I think they require different approaches.
How long ago was it when you asked these? Hang on just a second. How long ago? I want to know how long ago it was when you asked these guys this question, and if they were in the business of kitting and selling models, then the difference in the market and how much they could actually sell might be more lucrative with electric now than then. So I was just wondering how long ago it was that you
I
got
don't know,
into
but it was at least 2 years ago.
Yeah.
About
It wasn't
that
that
far back, and, it's like, they didn't believe me or didn't want to accept it, and I said, I'm not going to say it twice. I'm not gonna push the idea or anything like that. And I've done what I wanted to do, and I've been very successful at it. So, I mean, yeah.
The big thing that I don't care for with electric is that you just have to pick the batteries that are out there. It'd be nice if you did all your testing and said, I need 2,900 milliamps.
Yeah.
Or I needed 2,000 milliamps.
Yeah. But typically,
you get 28, you get 18. And
Steve, I don't think it's a big deal. What's the big deal is the way the plane is being built for electric, because we kind of shoot ourselves in a foot, right? First of all, we make these big fat airfoils. You don't need that in electric. We put these big doublers with lots of extra weight. You don't need that in electric. Then you make these boxes, all kind of like plywood and stuff like that inside of it. You can make it a lot simpler than that and keep it light.
Yeah, I understand that part, but you have the same problem. You use 1,400 milliamps.
Yeah.
So you want a 6-cell battery. What size battery do you go with? 2,800.
Yeah.
Because they don't make nothing else. You could drop off 3 or 4 ounces off your airplane, but
at least two. But for me, it's like a bit different case, Steve. Right? First of all, I need a nose weight, right? and we already bought the batteries, and we already have them. Another thing that happened in this whole thing, we found out that after we fly the plane, the batteries are exactly at the storage charge. So we just go fly, take the battery out of the plane, put it in a box, and we don't worry about the thing after that. It's simple. Yes, I can save all of that stuff, but I think I'm going to have to move the battery so far forward to balance the whole thing. And another thing happened is, like, we're not hurting for weight. We don't need to make the plane lighter than it is. We can, but we don't need to. It flies fantastic at its weight right now. And I think that the next generation is going to be 4 or 5 ounces lighter anyways. So to me, save battery weight doesn't make sense. Now, on the other hand, for you, it's a different situation, right? I think the best way to save battery weight is to use a bigger motor. This is another thing I was talking about, and everybody goes like, you're crazy. I said, use a bigger motor, because the instant you use a bigger motor, you don't save battery weight. You save ESC weight as well, because the bigger the motor, the more magnets, more windings, stuff like that, produces a lot more power, a lot easier, with much less amperage. Much less amperage means a smaller ESC, and ESCs are pretty much gram for gram, right? So a 60 amp ESC, it's about 60 grams. A 30 amp ESC, it's about 30 grams, and kind of like that, and kind of somewhat over there, right? Not perfectly, but somewhat over there. And so you save. Let's say you go with a bigger motor. I don't think I'm going anywhere in a flight over 25 amps. I could probably use a 30 amp ESC and still be more than saved and for what I need. And so there you go. There goes an ounce, more than an ounce over there, right? Um, uh, Now the battery doesn't have to work as hard as with a smaller motor. Smaller motor needs a lot of amperage, right? So then the battery tries to give up the juice, right? So it gets hot. It works hard and it's better cooling and stuff like that. It works hard. So the best thing to do to relax your system, it's just use a bigger motor, oversize the motor, and everything else down the line is going to be a lot better.
Right. But so here's what I do with Samantha's airplane. We got the battery is back as far as it'll go.
Mhm.
So I need it lighter.
Mhm.
So if I put a bigger motor in it, and I could put a smaller battery in there,
Mhm.
that might work, but I can't. All I'm doing is adding more weight to the nose because I put a bigger motor in it,
Okay.
use less battery, but I don't have any battery choices.
Oh, how about this? Build for electric.
This was built for electric.
You don't need the doublers in the nose.
It
You
doesn't
you
have doublers in the nose.
you have to put the battery to open yourself up to move the battery around. I mean,
It'll
move
move
it further back if you
back.
have to.
It'll move all the way back to the wing. I guess we built the tail too light.
That's also possible. I don't know what
But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that's the only drawback that I found so far
Uh-huh.
with electric.
Okay,
It-
now here's what I have to say
better
about this.
battery choices and stuff.
Mhm.
You could work them problems out better.
Now on the next plane, if you build a next plane that's similar to this one that you see, say build a tail to light, still build the tail light, but just move the elevator back an inch and a half, even 2.
Well, I
Okay.
thought, oh, the next one you'd have to cut the nose down a little bit.
Move the elevator back. You have much more bang for the buck like that.
Hmm.
Is gonna corner a lot faster, a lot easier.
Trey,
Yeah.
the the problems you're talking about are the same problems as working with balsa or wood as far as kittings go. The manufacturers don't want formed parts in it, but formed parts is the way to get rid of a lot of weight in the fuselage. The wing we can do all right with several different methods, but the formed parts for making the bucks and forming the parts to cut the weight, keep the shell a 3/32 shell or a 1/8 inch shell and very light formers in that. They'll go with the formers, but they won't go with the formed parts. So if you're going to really design for efficiency in electric, you've got to go specifically to the person, the craftsman, who does most of his work at home. You supply him with laser cut parts, say for the ribs and for the bulkheads and things like that. But he's going to have to do his own forming because the kit manufacturer won't do it, and I understand why they won't. It really puts their labor per unit up. So if
How many
somebody's
kits they
serious
build in
about,
a day? Yeah, how many kits do you build in a day typically?
yeah,
Or who's
how
building
many
them?
bucks and formers would they have to keep up with manufacturing? If you're going to build seriously for electric, you need to build it yourself at this point in time. Look at Paul Walker's what Bob Hunt called the anteater, his latest impact. It's got that long nose in that thing, and it's real skinny nose. He built that and he's got a relatively heavy rear end on it that looks like the stab and elevator and all that is a little on the heavier side. He did all that for balance while moving that weight back and forth of the battery. We need to look at the end design of some things, because like you can go for a shorter nose, but I like your idea of lengthening the fuselage out a bit and getting a balance that way. There is a mathematical formula. I'd have to look at my book, but for figuring with the weights in that, how far they have to be to balance each other, in an airplane from the center of gravity. I'm sure you've used it, Tran. Sure some others here have used it, but you can get pretty darn close using that formula and figuring out your balance points and where you can put your motor, where you can put your battery, things like that. I'll turn it back to you, Jan.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, so for me, from a manufacturing point of view, you have to make them quicker. If you can laser cut everything, you're golden, right? But when you start to form stuff, you're talking overnight stuff now, right?
Yep.
Or you need a lot of bucks or something like that. Are those bucks hard to make? Probably not too hard. I mean, you can just laser cut the formers out of plywood, put the plywood on a piece of on another form, right? Put the ribs like that, fill up with the foam in between them, shape it up a little bit, and you're done. You have a buck, right?
If you can find that for me, I'd like to see it, because I asked about that when we were doing Samantha's airplane. How do we know how long to make this nose? Well, people are making them 19 inches or whatever the number was. Okay. How big is the stab, the rudder? How's this balancing?
There's no such thing as a formula, because you have to think about there are different materials, different builds, different places where you put the weight. Some put holes in the back of the fuselage and the sides of the fuselage. Some don't. There's no such thing, because it's called weight distribution, right? So it is the density times the weight of the piece of material and where is it placed. And you have to calculate the momentum on each little piece that you have over there. Now, overall, you can probably say, hey, the stab weighs this much, and this is a CG for the stab, right? Or you have to take the fuselage weighs this much, this is the CG for the fuselage. I have the battery, and I have the motor, and I have the wing, and the wing CG is here, the battery CG is here. So now what you do, you just calculate the momentum, right? It's force times the distance on each component. So if you want to have the CG, say, at this point, and the wing has the CG over here, right? You have the weight of the wing times this, right? The stabilizer, it's over here. You have the weight of the stabilizer times this, always from the CG to that. And you can just say, okay, the motor is staying here, is not going to move. The battery is going to stay here. It's going to move maybe a little bit, right? But the wing is going to be here, it's not going to move. The fuselage is not going to move. And so you have some components with their own CG in certain place. So if you math it out, it comes up to 0, right? Moment times distance plus moment times distance for each component. You math it out, it comes out to 0, and 0 based on that CG location. So if you do that, you have a very good chance that everything is going to come more balanced, spot on over there. But you have to get each component. It's a pain in the ass.
That's the formula I was talking about. See, Tran, that component weight times the distance, and you work it from one side to the other with it, with them summing out to 0 at the end, which gets you your part. And it works fairly good. It's not absolutely accurate, because you got to have accurate
finish.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be. I had when I was doing it, I figured there was 3 inches we could move that battery back and forth. And I'm thinking, this will be fine. But it ended up being all the way back. We got the CG back, but I mean, now I can't. And it worked, but I can't change anything. It would have been better to figure it out to where I had 1.5 inches this way, 1.5 inches that way, or whatever. To move the battery for balance.
Yeah, but if I was
able to get it closer than just say, this is what everybody else is doing for length of nose and all this kind of stuff, and hopefully it works.
Well, if you want to use the same length of nose, like Tran said, you need to and you want to get more balance, make the tail longer.
Right, but now that the airplane's done and it's all taken apart, it's hard to make that damn tail any longer.
If you take apart, you can make a new tail for it.
Huh?
Make a new tail for it.
Yeah, I'd have to make a whole new fuselage.
Okay. I'll be right back, guys.
All right.
All right, Santa. There you go.
Yeah, there he's back.
He's back. Oh my goodness. Hey, buddy.
Meow. 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 Meow.
Oh, is that a cat? At first I thought
Is
maybe
this
he'd taken
cat?
his shirt off or something.
That's funny. That
I
is
gotta go, guys. Good night.
All right,
Hey,
good
you
night.
good night,
gave us
Tom.
early for what? You don't got nothing to do tomorrow, Tom.
I gotta work.
Oh, screw that. Take the day off.
All right, we'll see you.
Take it easy.
Good night.
Good night. I'm
Yeah, I didn't
so
realize that was John's cat. At first, I thought John had just taken his shirt off or something.
I've been waiting yet, then.
yeah. So yeah, I'm so happy that I can make my own timers now. Yes. So
Oh, you kicked the cat out of your place, huh?
You got to turn your microphone back on.
Can you hear us, John?
Yeah, I can hear you. I had to turn
Oh.
the mic back. I turned the mic off because there's going to be some noise.
mhm.
And cat
Oh,
jumped
boy.
on. He loves to get on my computer because it's warm.
Should
Yeah,
we
you
ask?
realize
Should we
cat
ask
at
what
first
the noise was?
You were
Say
gone
what?
because you
I
were
was
gone
getting
more
cat
than 2
scan.
seconds, and that cat jumped up there.
Mm-hmm. He just thinks he owns his computer. When I shut it down, I have to keep it closed up because he messed up some of the things. I don't see anybody in the little side box anymore. So I've just got full screen. That's all right.
You
But,
remember? You remember in the old days when they built houses, they had the register that went up the wall about 8 inches instead of being on the floor. Well, I had this house, and my Vizsla, my hunting dog I had, he'd hear that thermostat go click. He'd run over there and lay in front of that damn register because he knew within so many minutes there'd be hot air blowing out of that damn thing. And it was, you know, the old 60%, 70% furnace that blew 160, 170 degree air.
It's a
He'd
pretty
run
observant dog.
What's that?
I said, that's a pretty observant dog.
I know that dog was smarter than shit. There was a thing on TV one time. See how smart your dogs were, and they rated all these dogs how smart they were. And it was take a bowl and put something under it and see how long it took it to get you had to time it to get the food out from under it and all these tests. So while I was going on, I took a piece of food and stuck it under his dish. As soon as I moved my hand, that dog said whack and had that. And I'm like, shit, 1 second. But dogs would push it. It showed dogs pushing it with its nose and stuff like that. Hell, that dog did all the tests and way under what they were doing them on TV. But that dog was
Some
smart.
animals do not. Some animals do not have positional awareness. In other words, if you put something under the bowl like you're talking about, the dog can't see it, but the dog knows it's under there. Intellectually, the dog knows it's under there. But other animals, if you put something out of their sight, it just doesn't exist anymore. You know, it's out of sight, out of mind. So
You know what blew my mind away? When I was watching these documentaries about ravens, how smart those birds are.
Yeah.
They're unbelievably smart. I mean, just it's just I thought just the best bird in the whole world. The ravens are just incredibly
a
intelligent.
raven and a crow are not the same bird, are they?
No.
Same family, but not. Yeah. And
Oh,
they
oh,
had
here.
one that was actually solving the puzzle to get something.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? and he was trying to grab some food from somewhere, and he had to grab a stick from somewhere else, and in order to get to that stick, he had to do something else, and he looked around, he figured it out, and he solved the puzzle and got the stuff. And,
Well,
and just he actually used tools because he had to get something from inside of a tube which he could not reach. So he had to move the tube around to get the stuff out, get his stick, use the stick to do something else. And I was like, what?
I saw a documentary.
No
like
way.
that, and they had squirrels as well on it, solving problems. And I've also seen one with octopi, and those are extremely smart tool users. An octopus can use a tool like that.
Yeah.
well, I was like, the other thing I taught the dog, I took a rock, and it always wanted to play and shit. And I knew it would search for shit. But I took a rock and threw it way the hell out in the backyard. At dark, it's dark. Dog take off. Okay, he'll leave me alone. All of a sudden, he brought the rock back. So I showed a buddy of mine. I said, the dog wanted to play. I said, he was bothering her. I said, I'll show you. There's this rock. Pick that rock up, rub your scent on it, and throw it out there in the field. We put that thing, and he threw it one time. The dog ran out there, come back with it. He goes, I probably didn't throw it that far. So I took that son of a bitch, he just heaved it. Took the dog longer, but he'd come back with that damn rock. And he'd come over all the time and play with that dog, and bring people over and show them that dog could find a rock at nighttime out in the field.
They have a second set of eyes called a nose.
I had a friend in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, just north of there. That's on the peninsula, the thumb of Wisconsin. He had a black lab. He lived on above, quite high above the water, and it was a shale, not a cliff, but it came down at an angle of about 10, 15 degrees. It was all loose shale, all pieces of black shale. And he picked up one of those pieces of black shale and threw it as hard as he could over that cliff. And that dog took off with it. And about close to an hour later, he came back with that exact same piece of shale, just like Steve's talking about. Their nose is amazing, because there's thousands of pieces of shale that looked almost identical to it.
Yeah.
Wonder if it matters how much the wind's blowing. If that bothers
It does,
their
it does, because they have to smell it,
But
but it doesn't matter, it's like they're gonna find the scent and just follow it until they find a.
He was a natural quartering dog, so he'd weave back and forth. Never had to teach him. So if you did something like that, I threw it out there during the daytime too to watch, see how he did it, and turn him around so he couldn't see, throw it, tell him to go get it. But he would quarter, and if he went past it and the wind was then coming at him, he would pick it up, or he would move around and come in from different directions on this field to work the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And when I took him out bird hunting, he knew the wind brought scent, and he would take off running and then work into the wind. He was smart when it come to stuff like that. But
that's to them, this is natural, yeah.
There's something inbred in them. They just know I don't know how they would know the wind and how they know the quarter. But they do somehow.
I had a Brittany Spaniel like that who'd go out in the field. I mean, he was just a pup. He was like 6 months old. Went out, crossed the field, and all of a sudden he stops. And I'm looking at him, and he's in full point. He's got his pop. He's stretched out. He's got his nose forward. And he never got topped at. And I say, what do you got? And he went and made a little movement like that, and up come a pheasant. And he had a pheasant dead on. That's inbred into him as a bird dog.
My new puppy points a lot with the tail straight out and the right paw up.
Yeah, and you don't teach them. They just know how to do that for some reason.
It's genetic memory, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was like Samantha's mom had, I call them pheasants. They were red and yellow and gold and all
Chinese
that kind of
pheasant.
stuff.
Emperor pheasant.
Yeah, yeah, all these different. I mean, they were beautiful. Had cool plumage and stuff. And she had them in a big pen. And she said to me one day, she said, "I thought you said that dog was such a good hunting dog." I said, "It is." Said, "All the other dogs come over here, go up there where them pheasants are. He doesn't even know they're here." I said, "He knows they're here. He's just so smart. He knows we're not hunting them, so he's not going to bother with them." So Samantha's brother wanted to go hunting for partridge. I said, "All right." So I went up there, and we're getting ready to go, and I throw his bell on and his collar and stuff, and I'm getting my gun out. And all of a sudden, Lori said, "Oh my God, look at him. He's at the damn pheasant pen or whatever, pointing. You think I could call him off them damn birds?" He's like, "Bullshit, you're going to shoot them son of a bitches." So I had to go grab him by the collar and get him off him. And when
Well, the key thing, Steve, for him was he recognized when you got the gun out that you were in business, and he knew what his business was.
And he likes that probably too.
But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Samantha's mom could not believe how he was. I mean, and he didn't charge the birds or anything. He was just pointing them from way back. He knew not to creep in and all that. I said, "I told you, that dog," and I taught him nothing.
Yep. It's like some people flying the stunt pattern. They're just naturals at it.
I remember
they can do
hearing,
it pretty good. You work with them a little bit, and they fly awful good.
That was like Samantha's, I don't know, maybe 10th flight, if that many. And I launched that little half A, and right when I launched it, the motor pegged. And I said, up, 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 like that. And the motor kicked down, and Samantha brought it in inverted. And she's flying around. I said to her, "When the motor quits, you got to put some down in it, And the motor quit. I'm like, down, down, down. She lands it. She said, "Man, that took me a minute to figure out how to fly that backwards." And I mean, it was like, oh my God. I try to fly inverted and can't do it. First time she flew it inverted, she never crashed. She flew the whole damn, and that little half A hauled ass around there.
Yeah, she's a natural.
Yep.
But the only thing I can think of is with kids, you don't make them fly upright a lot. Their minds work so fast, and their coordination is that once they fly a few times this way, I just said, anyone else would train, we just turn inverted and have them fly the other way, because their minds hasn't fixed in on that yet. They pick it up so quick that they never have to think about it.
That's one thing I always. If I was teaching anybody how to fly, as soon as they know how to fly normal flight, I take them inverted right away, because you see a lot of people that learn how to fly by themselves, and they never venture into inverted flight, and you can see in their flights, like inside looks beautiful, outside looks like little dinky donuts over there in the corner. And it's typical. You just see it everywhere.
Never heard them called dinky donuts.
They're dinky donuts, but
you're absolutely right.
yeah.
And I think that's part
Get
of
rid of the fear.
years with, cocks that you couldn't get over on their back because they were plastic. Then when I went with anything else, I practiced everything, like you said, just inside loops, inside squares, anything that was inside. Never used down handle for nothing. And it's hard now to learn. My mind don't want to let me use down handle.
Just fly inverted. Take off, fly inverted, outside maneuvers inverted, outside maneuvers inverted, outside. Never come in normal flight unless you have to land. Just spend as much time over there, and you get more comfortable and more comfortable with it.
Yeah, but I got, I keep running out of airplanes.
How
are you doing that?
How
I've
am I
never
doing
flown
that?
pattern.
Once I put them in inverted, they
I've
go.
never flown pattern
Steve,
through it.
Steve, up
Well-
goes towards the canopy, down goes towards the wheel. When you're inverted, you wants to go towards the wheels. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think so. But
I want to go towards the wheels. That's down.
I mean, that one summer, I think I planted 5 or 6 airplanes. I was so pissed off at myself.
Don't force it too much. It should come natural. As soon as now you have a plane that's badly trimmed and stuff like that. That's not gonna help you.
I even had Samantha trim out the airplane. She applied the whole pattern with it. I go up. There we go.
I think it's a little bit of an art form because some people just can grab a handle from any plane and you just feel the plane. And as soon as you feel the plane, you know where the problems are. And as soon as you know where the problems are, okay, I can fly around those. So that's something I used to do. I used to just, like I told you, when I was going to in Chicago, I would just fly other people's plane, and I was like, they would come to me like, I didn't know the plane can fly a triangle. I said, you're right, it can't. I said,
Well-
but I had to walk back very fast as I was doing it, to maintain line tension because I just knew the problem was there, so I was just flying around the problem.
And that's the thing, though, is that there's some kind of blockage in my mind because I can fly an RC airplane as well inverted as I can upright. Use the fly pattern. I can fly them at me or away from me, crossways from me. It doesn't mess with what I got to do. I don't even have to think about it.
Mhm.
And usually back in the day when we were moving machinery and stuff, I'd always direct the high-low or the crane because it didn't matter if it was coming towards me or going away from me. I could tell the guy right, left, didn't have to think about it. With these other guys were going the wrong directions and stuff like that. But it's like when I put a handle in my hand, something about the inverted part of my mind lead.
Are you freezing?
I don't walk. That's my biggest problem. If I could walk with the airplane, all of a sudden my feet quit moving and I catch myself with my arm back, and the airplane goes in. So that's out there and going, walk, Dad, walk, 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 want me to move my feet.
Steve, try doing extended lazy eights and extend that upside down line further and further each time. You'll get your walking because that's a maneuver and you know how to do it. And you can just back and forth like this and then just extend that further, and then come back. So you're already programming into your mind that when you want to come back, you have to give it down, and it helps.
That's what I thought kind of ruined me because when I was doing lazy eights, I wasn't ever moving my feet. So I fly there and I come back and I fly way over here and, half the circle. You got that. Bring it back. Well, then when I go past half the circle, my feet still don't move.
Well, that's the problem right there. You need to relax a little bit and move. Go out and practice it without your airplane. Pretend you're flying and learn and teach yourself how to move. You don't have to have an airplane on the end. You just put your hand out and say, I'm going to do a lazy eight and I'm going to extend it over here. And you can practice that movement, get it ingrained in your mind before you put an airplane in your hand.
Yeah,
I think that's a good practice.
I had a bad motor run. I was doing lazy eights. Came over, this damn thing went dead rich. Bah. I flew the whole damn thing out and landed it inverted. It's like, what was it?
You're fine.
I did it. And then, okay, we get it running better. I go out there. My feet don't move now when I try to do it. It's like when I had to do it, I can do it. But when I want to do it, man, something really between my ears just goes on vacation.
You have to actively.
Practice.
No, Steve, you have to actively fly. Okay. Right? Like when you fly a normal flight, you tell yourself, let's walk and follow the plane. Like when you go inverted, you don't stop. You just go walk, follow the plane. You know, because if you do lazy eights, you already program. You instinctively want to stand still, right? But now I said, okay, I'm going to do some lazy eights. Okay, on the next one, I'm going to go and extend, and I'm going to go for one lap, walk behind it. You know, so get it more involved, I guess.
Flying
I don't know what to
control
say.
line has made me afraid to chew gum.
I think you can walk
You
into
gotta
the.
walk.
That's funny, Steve.
I'll be paralyzed.
Steve,
Yeah.
I found one of the best exercises I have when I haven't flown for a while is I'll get in the bedroom or in the house or somewhere, and I'll put my hand out like this, thumb up, just for reference for at the beginning, and I'll pretend I got a handle in my hand, and I'll try to fly that pattern. I'll visualize it in my mind, and that you do multiple practices like that, and pretty soon you got a pretty good beginning to grab your airplane, and now you're much better prepared to fly a pattern.
Yeah, I've tried that too, and I don't know. I don't know if it's fear what does it to me, but that's what Anthony tried to do. Every night,
You're afraid of the ground.
every
You're afraid
night
of the
before
ground.
what's that?
You're afraid of the ground.
I guess it is because Samantha goes, Dad, every night before I go to bed, I fly at least 3 patterns in my bed. Visualize me flying.
Yeah.
Go to
Yeah.
sleep.
If you can do it with RC, you're up higher. If you can do it RC, I bet you can't do it in RC if you bring the plane down 5 foot off the ground.
Yeah, I
You'll
can.
have problems. And so that's the problem is you're probably afraid of the ground. That's why you need to do that practicing, extending those, and practice walking. Like Trian said, bring it around and say, I'm going to go a full lap on this up inverted and walk with it. Do that in your mind. Do it out in the field with your hand out like you do. Just do it, and you'll get over that being afraid of it. You'll find that with the control line airplane, you've got a good feeling of control at 5 feet. If you've got your if control set up correctly and it's properly trimmed, you'll feel you got plenty of room under the airplane at 5 feet. And you'll find that if you practice it, you can get down to a foot and feel just fine going around upside down a foot off the ground. Don't recommend doing that when you're flying a pattern in front of the judges, but these are things you need to do to get rid of that fear. Try it, try it with a half A plane, try it with a 15 size airplane. Do it, practice it in your mind. You will get it. You'll get over that fear. You got to practice that walking. That's the first thing you need to do is learn how to turn and go all the way around without turning your body, but turn up from the waist up, but turn with your feet. You'll get it. It's just one of those hurdles you have to get over.
Yeah, that's what I figure, I mean, I can do inside and outside loops now and stuff like that. I just can't do inverted flight. I mean,
Just walk.
First time I had to do an outside square, diving at the ground scared me to death. But I knew my plane would turn.
It's very unnatural to go from top diving into the ground, and you are so tempted to pull out of it instead of pulling inverted. It's the most unnatural maneuver.
yeah, I remember Samantha, and I told her, I said, just think, when you do a regular square, you come across, you go up, you're flying across the top, now you're going to dive at the ground. But when you do it this way, for some reason, it's a whole lot scarier.
Because you have to give it down to come out of it.
Yeah.
Because the natural response is to pull out.
Pull up. Yep.
pull up, not to go inverted, to dive in. So it's very unnatural. That's what makes it scary.
Yep.
And then you have a little bit looser lines on depending on if you have normal props.
Yeah.
So you have
You'll
to
find you can do an outside coming from the inverted. It's quite easy to do an outside. A lot easier than diving at the ground from 45 degrees.
Yep.
Rusty, okay?
Yeah.
You need to shut up. You talk
You
too
know, we
much.
even had Samantha.
Sometimes when I try to start talking, y'all need to let me in. I can't get a word in edgewise sometimes.
Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
Got to be faster pulling the trigger there, Rusty.
I guess so.
Sorry, Rusty. Build an electric plane.
You know, that was the other thing is we had Samantha with her squares to come in from inverted. Instead of coming from the top and doing that first dive, to start it from the bottom. And then it didn't bother her as bad. I don't know if you just get used to down, you know, now it doesn't bother her, but I mean in the beginning.
Yep. It's using that down control. You're heading towards the ground. You don't like the ground. You're afraid of the ground. You don't want to do that. And then to pull out at 5 feet or thereabouts, 4 to 6 feet, you got to really trust your airplane. You got to know it. You got to have it trimmed right. If you know it can make that turn, it helps a lot. The first time you do it, though, you don't know if you get the turn.
That
Go
5
ahead,
feet's
Rusty.
always been my nemesis. I was just getting over that when I quit flying. So hopefully when I get back into it, I'll still have some natural muscle
You'll have muscle memory.
doing.
You'll have muscle memory, Rusty.
What?
Do like we're talking about. Visualize it first.
Yeah.
You look funny if you do it out in the field, but go in your backyard and do it where
Well,
people
I
can't
do
see
dry
you.
fly like you were suggesting earlier. I've always done a lot of dry flying before contests were coming up. And one thing I found out is it's a lot harder to move your arm around like this. I get more tired doing that than I do holding on to the lines because I can lean back against the airplane. But
That's true. That's true.
What I'm
but I
trying
do
to
find flying helpful, especially when I'm turning backwards because I will get dizzier. Although if I had to fly a full tank out and I have inverted, I could do it with no problem. But I get a little less stable after, say, 5 or 6 laps. When it's time to finish the inverted flight and pull into the loops, I'm glad it's over. But it's actually one of my highest scored stunts.
It's for some reason. For me, it was a lot easier to learn to do a square loop than the outside square. Because in a square loop, you can have, build up rhythm, right? And as long as you maintain the same rhythm on the outside, you're going to be fine. And another thing is like, just go like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just like if you maintain the cadence and stuff like that, just very good at it, you should have a decent maneuver, And another thing, don't try to do those 5-foot bottoms. Don't even worry about them. Just fly whatever is comfortable for you, and in time they will be there.
And the quality of the plane, I'm learning a lot from y'all about that, how important that is. I'm not sure I've flown the most capable airframes. I got engines running good. Airframe trimming still, maybe I have had less than perfect airframes.
You'll know when you get one.
You know how you trim a plane, Rusty?
Pretty much. Yeah. I had a good trim.
You know how to learn that?
Yeah.
It's very simple. 2 words. Do something.
Yeah.
If you did something wrong, go opposite direction.
That's right.
Work right.
I'm not unhappy with my trimming techniques. I just probably have some building techniques that maybe need to improve.
But from the
Well,
sound of
that-
it, it's just a lot of motor running issue over there too, right?
I've had, yeah, I've had my share of motor problems, but I've gotten to where since I've been flying LA-46 planes, it's pretty much crank and go, and I hadn't had much trouble with those.
Okay. Okay.
The Vector is a very good plane for somebody that's trying to move up. It's a very
I've always
capable
wanted to
airplane.
try it. Yeah, I've always wanted to try flying a Vector. I never have. Flown very few full fuselage planes.
Another good
This
one.
is my 2 cents in that. If you know how to fly level flight, do loops, and if you learn how to fly invert and do maybe an 8 or something like that, it's time to move up with a serious plane.
Yep.
And play safe. Just play safe.
Yeah.
Just get a nice solid flying plane, a Vector, an SV-11, something like that. Really doesn't matter what it is. You put
I
it
fly
in
it well enough to belong in advance, I believe, and that's what I was about to do the night I broke my leg. Was go next day and fly advance, but that would have been my first time, but it never happened.
You are ready for it then.
Well,
Yeah.
if we get down there this spring and you're still feeling good, I'll let you fly one of these Vectors and see what you think.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to try to do Huntersville again.
We may just, what it is, I talked to Rich and I told him, I said, when he's done with his chemo and he feels good, since we had to cut off the whole end of flying season and stuff, I said, hell, we'll just take off and go down south and go flying. I said, I know we can fly there in North Carolina. I said, well, let us use the field and stuff. And I said, Derek's in Georgia. Trying.
Yeah, barely in Georgia. He's on the Georgia-South Carolina line.
Yeah,
he's
I know fly down there. I said, hell, we'll just go down and get a damn motel and go flying.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome at Huntersville. Just let us know you're coming, and we'll be ready for you.
That's what I told him. I said, he's been going through this shit since July and everything, and when it's done and over, if he's feeling good, let's go have some fun.
You're also welcome at Triple Tree certain days of the week.
Yeah, Triple T is a very nice place to go.
That's what I told him.
If they know you're coming, they'll have it mowed and ready.
That's what I told him is that, we're not going to have a problem flying. Everybody knows us and they'll fly. I said, if we have to, we can even go fly in Florida and stay with my uncle or whatever. But we didn't want to go quite that far down. But yeah, if we do that, I'll bring them airplanes along and you can try a Vector and see what you think.
It'll be April again.
It's coming quick.
It may be in March because his chemo's done in February, I think. His last one's in February.
March is kind of cold and windy.
Oh, is it?
So April's kind of windy and cold too. So it's, I guess, maybe 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It doesn't get really good for planning anything until May, but April's probably better than March.
Well, it's a little bit different because what you guys consider cold and windy is different than what I do, and it's a whole lot different than what he does.
Hey, Steve, you can come out in January and come out to the Southwest Regionals in Tucson. Yeah, weather's really good actually for that one, but that's quite a long ways for you to go. But yeah.
But I told him we'll go any place, any place he wants. We'll just take off and spend a week or so flying.
Yeah, sounds good.
That sounds good.
It was throwing rocks at you at Huntersville. The wind was.
Yeah, that's about like it is here all the time. I mean, we get wind off of Lake Michigan. Sure. They call Chicago the Windy City. And that's where it starts and it ends over here at us. Because it comes all the way across that lake without anything blocking the wind.
I bet that's cold wind.
Yep. So Yeah. When we were there in Florida, we were there in December, and everybody thought it was so cold because it only got till like 60 degrees. I mean, Samantha, she was wearing shorts out flying and stuff, you know. Everybody's like, what the hell? Aren't you cold? No, it was like 0 when we left.
This is short weather for us now.
Yeah.
And then for you, where Tom Rammel lives, it's way colder where Tom lives than it is in Michigan.
Yeah, here we get to 0 and he's at 20 below.
Yeah. Ooh, man.
What I did find out today, though, they were talking about Alaska and North Pole, Alaska, or whatever, you know, because it's around Christmas time.
My home.
Huh?
My home.
Yeah, there you go.
Where John lives.
And they said that they got a lot of snow there. We got a lot of snow there this year. We're over our average of 55 inches.
Wow.
So a lot of snow. Last year we got 100 and some inches here where I live.
Alaska doesn't get that much snow. I lived there for 10 years. So when you get something like over 55 inches, you got a lot of snow. But where I lived near Anchorage, we'd get on the average maybe 2 or 3 inches, 6 inches of snow, but we'd get it almost every day. But the wind would blow it away. The weather there, they've been breaking records for warm weather. They're in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and that usually happens. Usually in February, they have the spring thaw, they call it, and then it freezes back up. It's strange up there. I don't know what's going to happen to our weather. We're probably going to get a lot colder.
Well, there it was minus 20, and they didn't have, I didn't think that much snow compared. I mean, 2 years ago, snow below my driveway. So that snowblower will throw that shit a long ways, 30 foot or whatever. It snowed so much, the snow was above my mailbox in my front yard.
Yeah. We used to fly RC in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. We'd fly out on the bay, the frozen ice. We built skis for the airplanes.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun. But it was like 10, 15 below. And we had to use a butane torch to warm up the cylinder before we could start the engine. It was that cold.
Yeah, John Paris was flying today. He sent pictures. He's just 2 hours west of me. No snow. Here we probably got about 4 inches. But I knew they got less on that side of the state. But they said the average snowfall in the United States is 35 inches a year. And I'm like, holy shit, we're like 3 times that. But it has to we get all that lake effect.
You're the one making up for those of us that don't get much.
Yeah, I guess.
We got a quarter of an inch last night.
Yeah, you got snow then. But yeah, so I figured it has to be just the humidity coming off of Lake Michigan.
Has a lot to do with it.
Because they were,
you got that cold air coming down from Canada and the North Pole, and there's nothing to stop it. There's nothing but barbed wire fences between you and the North Pole. There's no big mountain ranges or anything like we have here. So it just screams down through there. That's why you get so dang cold. I lived north of you up in Wisconsin for about 10, 15 years. And, you get those, what they call the blue northerns come roaring in. Oh, boy. It gets cold. It was as cold in that area as it was in Alaska when I lived up there.
Yeah, well, they were talking about the news in Buffalo, New York, because they get hammered there with the snow.
With the lake effect.
With a lake effect. And they said the reason why they get it so much worse than other places is because they're at 1,000-foot altitude. And usually at with the lake being at 32 degrees and not frozen over, that amount of temperature and water vapor at 1,000 feet, it starts snowing.
Yep.
Here where I live, we're at 1,076. So that's probably
Lowlander.
same thing that's happening. Why they'll get less snow at the lake, and we'll get more snow here. It's pushed its way through, will come up in altitude, and then drop its load, I guess.
Yep. We get that here off the Great Salt Lake. That's one of the reasons why the ski resorts here have the best powder in the world. They claim is because it comes off the lake and it hits the mountains to the southwest of them and just dumps on them. You know, they start the ski runs that it's at about 5,000-6,000 feet. The mountains go up to 10,000 feet, and they just get dumped. There's this real fine powder snow. Skiers love it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, good night.
Good night.
Hey, good night.
Get the plates on that airplane before Friday and let us know how it works.
Sure.
Yeah, you got to give us a flight report.
Yep.
Not before Friday. I'm not sure of that, but
Oh yeah, you can do it.
Just do it.
we'll see.
Just do it.
Haven't heard a word from Charles all night.
Yeah, he talks too much.
I've been enjoying it and listening.
Let's see that fuselage all in silk span.
Yeah, I'd like to see it too, but it's not quite there yet.
Let me
So-
guess. He's
so
still
what you
cleaning
doing
the garage.
Charles?
I couldn't understand because you both were talking at the same time.
I'll shut up.
Hey, he said you're still cleaning the garage, Charles.
Yes, I have been. I had a garage sale yesterday, trying to get rid of some stuff and getting organized. And
See, we didn't realize that he had a 20 stall garage.
If I'm in the neighborhood, I'll drop by.
yes, boy, yeah.
Charles, what are you figuring for the next season? What are you going to be flying? You gonna stick with the Striga?
Yeah, I'm building a new Strega. That's what I'm getting teased about. So I'm still believing I'm gonna have that thing ready for this season coming up. If not, I'll just fly my red Strega. But
All right.
yeah, I really enjoy flying the Strega. It flies good with that Stalker 81. It's a great combination.
Well, that's good. That's good. If you feel good and familiar with it, you'll do okay.
Yeah, I'm actually working on my pullouts, my reverse wing overs, getting my bottoms lower and and just flying low. I've been reflecting on this year, and I had some video I watched, and I was like, "Wow, you really are flying high." So, I think that's my biggest problem that I've been flying probably. Honestly,
Leave that weed alone, Charles.
what?
Then leave that weed alone.
Yeah, it's legal, but that doesn't mean that I have to do it.
Right, yeah. Just try not to fly high anymore.
Yeah, I try to fly sober, but yeah, I just getting my bottoms down, and I've been taking out. I made these height guides. It's like a placard with a 5-foot marker, and I made them several years ago, and when I was going better and doing better, I actually was using those. So this year I've been religiously been bringing them out every time I practice, and it's really beginning to show up that I'm having the muscle memory of flying lower.
Yeah, and
Oh, that's good.
if you can use your phone to get some kind of video just at the 5-foot mark, straight across where you're doing stuff. When you get done flying, you can go back over there and look. Am I seeing what, the camera's seeing or whatever?
Oh, interesting.
It doesn't have
The problem you have, Charles, is you don't have what do you call it? A guy to help you out.
Yeah, I don't have
I'm trying to say a trainer. Yeah, you're having to do a lot of it by yourself, and that makes it tough because you can learn. We got a guy up here. He flew good for him. he thought he was flying it perfectly, but he taught himself every mistake and he got it down perfectly because he flew a lot. But he flew before the judges and he couldn't understand why he wasn't getting good scores. And you couldn't talk to him about it. He was bullheaded about it.
Well, that's like,
You are open, but you don't have anybody to help you.
well, even with Samantha, you know, I'd tell her that the bottom, you know, she actually flies outsides better than she does insides. And she wasn't hitting the bottoms on her inside maneuvers on like square 8. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Well, we finally had to put up placard and then film it. And she got done. Look at that. Can you see that? She goes, I swear I was hitting them exactly the same. But she wasn't. Then she ended up, I said, either, you know, both of them was within the 4 to 6 foot, but you could see a difference in them. And I told her, I said, you're better off being closer to 6 foot and having them even than one that you can really bring down low and the other one you can't. You know, it doesn't look right. So that's what she ended up doing to get, because her outsides were always lower. She'd bring them through at 5 or a little bit lower, and her insides are always above 5 feet, never went below 6. And it didn't really matter so much in the loops, but the 8s is where you've seen it, because you did them back to back.
The judges will pick up on that so quick.
Yep. You could really see it on that.
It's easy to see differences, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, if you 3 insides at, you know, at 5.5 feet and 3 outsides at 5 feet, after you went around and stuff, the judges ain't picking that up.
Right.
But when you do them right together, boy, they're seeing them run one after another. And you can, you know, I was picking, and I'm like, I'm not a judge that judges all the time and look for all these mistakes. And I mean, it just jumped out at me.
Yeah.
She wasn't seeing it for some reason. And we just filmed it in front of the placards that didn't lie. And she gradually got them the same.
I like using that cadence that Trajan was talking about. That helped me a lot, even though some of the shapes might not have been correct because I was doing a cadence, but it instantly took my score from about 500 up to 537. That was the highest score I've ever got. That was when I went to the cadence, and it helps a lot because if you don't worry too much about it on the loops, on the round loops. When you get to the square maneuvers and the triangles and that, you get that 1, 2, 3. You're not looking at the ground. You're not afraid of the ground. You're hitting on the cadence and you make the turn. If you started at 5 foot and your cadence is right, you'll end at 5 foot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You know, she does so much better than I can just point stuff out. I really can't tell her how to fix shit or whatever because I can't do it, you know.
Dave Fitzgerald's father, he flew. I don't know how good he flew, but he was a darn good coach for David Fitzgerald. And I remember going to the contest, and his dad was always there watching his flight and giving him remarks and that about the flight. And I think that's one of the reasons why David's such a good flyer today.
Yeah. You know, I know if something's square and I know if something's round, and I know where 5 foot's at. 40.
You know where the intersections are.
Yeah, I can see all that. So I could tell her that. If the plane is doing something weird, I can't tell her how to fix it.
That comes at time.
The trimming part has been the worst thing for us.
Yeah.
But it's like Brian said, finally we just said, hey, let's do something and see if that helps. If not, go back to where you were or go if it made it worse.
He's right. I saw a picture of Paul Walker's anteater in a turn, and I was amazed at how far back his lead outs are. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. His lead outs are way back, and that's electric. I don't understand the reason why his lead outs are so far back, but the plane, maybe it's because he's got that long, skinny nose and it doesn't have, maybe it's the area in front of I don't know.
Well, when we were at the Nats and they were trying to help Samantha trim her plane out, and he was moving the lead outs back and stuff. And after we left, she said, "Dad, I can't fly with them lead outs that far back." You know, so we ended up moving them back to where they were at and stuff. She's like, and I forget what she said, what it did to the airplane, but she said it made it crab a lot, and it did something with did straight stuff. She didn't like how it turned going up, but
I've always wondered with my lead out about a thumb width behind the CG at the tip.
You'd think a long nose
That's
would
where I
require,
Say what?
let's see, you'd think a long nose would require more forward lead outs than a short nose.
You would, wouldn't you?
Intuitively, that's what I think anyway.
now if you fly a counter-rotating prop, you can move them lead outs a lot further forward.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. You know, it seems like it would hurt it in other things. But that one Vector 40 of Samantha's, we had the lead outs as far forward as they go.
If you were to hang a plane with a spinning disc on the front, not a prop, and the disc is spinning at, say, 12,000 RPMs, if you were to hang it from the CG with a string, would the spinning prop make the plane rotate this way? I mean, to the counterclockwise looking from the top?
No, it'd make it spin at you. It's the opposite.
Oh, okay, that's the way it would go.
Yeah.
Wing up, wing down.
If you ever rode a Moto Guzzi, you can really tell with them. You nail the throttle, and that son of a bitch will rock that.
Well, yeah.
The opposite way it's spinning.
Okay, yeah, I get that. That's from the torque, but I was thinking about the gyroscopic effect. Would it also rotate the airframe one way or the other, depending on which way the disc is spinning?
I don't know about that.
Because torque and gyroscopic effects are.
You shut off your mic,
things.
John.
There you go. I say that yes, gyroscopic precession is sounds like what he's describing, and that I found that's why when you give it up control, you don't have much problem with your line tension doing insides, but doing outsides, you give it down, the plane wants to turn into you because the gyroscopic precession is 90 degrees to the plane of rotation. So it draws the nose in at you. It does a couple other things, but on my Legacy, I wound up putting a ray rudder on it, and it solved that. You know, I get up there, give it down, and that ray rudder keeps it going straight. Anyway,
when you're doing, say, a outside square, do you step backwards as you pull into the turns?
Sometimes, but I tend to stand there more often, and that's why I wound up putting the ray rudder on it, because that turns the plane back out against the position. And you know, I found it especially useful at the top of the hourglass.
Yeah, I like to stand and plant. You know, spread my feet and plant when I'm doing stunts of any direction, but I probably need to. I was watching Derek Barry fly, and he steps back during every single maneuver.
Yep, he's maintaining his tension. You've watched Dave Fitzgerald when he flies the overhead eights. I don't know how he could plant his feet and lean that far back without falling over.
He does, and that's a real squat he does doing that too.
Yeah, on any Archer's back. It's pretty phenomenal.
Way back, yeah, because he doesn't turn around. He just comes out with his plane right behind him and comes back around.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Samantha likes counter rotating props, because that helps on that procession or whatever at the hourglass. And
Well, what it does, though, what it could do, I don't know, because I don't run them, but it would seem that it would give you a possibility of doing the opposite. Then when you give it up, it wants to turn the nose in. You give it down, it turns the nose out.
you know, and that's what everybody says, but I think because you have more speed, it doesn't affect the airplane as much as it does, you know, when you're slowing down and you're coming across and then the airplane is speeding up right there. I guess, you know, that's when you get that rotation stuff. But Dennis said the same thing, that, you know, he likes it better, and it should be the same in either direction with that prop. But for some reason, it must be before you're doing the maneuver at what point that it doesn't bother it, you know.
Well, that's good. Like I say, I've never flown, you know, with a right hand prop, left. Anyway, the opposite prop. I've never flown one, and I've never flown an airplane that goes in the opposite direction. That, you know, that goes clockwise.
Counter rotating left hand for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Just like when we went to the Igor setup and he only made the regular props, it took her a bit to get used to flying the airplane again, because she got used to flying the counter rotating prop. You know, we went back to the tractor. She had to get it. So, and I don't understand what she's feeling different, but she said she wish it, you know, she would have had a one of them props that, you know, turn the opposite direction. But I don't know. I guess you got to fly at speed. You know, that's what Walker used until he couldn't get the left-handed props.
It seems there's people that have tried them. Some have gone back to the regular props, and some have liked all what you've got. We get used to, and all what you can trim towards.
Well, they said that Paul went back because he wanted the lighter prop that Igor made, and nothing else was that light, and he felt that the electric system worked better coming on and off with such a lighter prop, so he went back. You know, but yeah, he flew left-handed props for a while.
Yeah, well, like I say, I've never tried them, and I probably won't. I'm used to flying and trimming with the prop going, the right-hand prop, and I just have to learn all new trimming and everything else, I believe, if I went to the other direction. It just doesn't trim the same, I don't believe. And so I just stay with what.
Now what works for you.
Now with the IC motor, John, it would require with a different crankshaft, right?
Yeah.
You can't do it easily with an IC motor. You can do it real easily with an electric.
Oh, yeah,
And so
yeah,
I built. Say what?
I think the TV in the background somewhere is interfering with our switching between people.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope it's not here. I built one of Umlin Sakatumi's. Nice. It was a nice flying airplane. I flew it with a right-hand prop. I considered going to a left-hand but then I'd have to
You must keep muting yourself, John.
I'd make sure I don't have the noise coming from the house here. I said with that socket to me, I could have. It's electric. I could have easily changed the prop direction, but I'm so used to trimming for right hand, and trimming is like for you. Trimming for me is sometimes a challenge, trying to find an answer to things. But that's part of the way, part of the things of learning that we need to do. And I'm much more proficient at right hand. I have to learn the whole thing over to do left hand.
No.
That's a good
Well,
point.
guys, I think I'm gonna get out of here too. It's 12:30, and
All righty.
Okay, Steve.
it's gonna be shutting down here in a minute anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad we got talking a little about stunt flying. I like that discussion. That's always interesting. Never
It
gets
is.
old. I hadn't flown in so long. I want to fly a damn plane. I
Oh,
enjoyed
I can only imagine.
it and doing it. So
Put a,
Rusty, I thought you liked half-A planes, Rusty.
that's my background. That's what I grew up on. But no, I'm currently and was when I got cut off by the flight surgeon, a stunt flyer. I was aspiring to be a good stunt flyer.
they fly.
And
We're gonna go into.
that's what I've been building for the past 3 years now.
Okay. I don't know why I thought you were a half-A flyer.
Well, a lot of my YouTube stuff is half A because there's so much of it, and I enjoy half A. It's big fun. But no, what in my modeling life right now, I want to be a good stunt flyer.
Okay.
And I was
That's a
getting
good
the hang of it. I was getting the hang of it. That's what pisses me off so bad when suddenly I stopped, and I don't know if I'll ever get back. I'm going to try.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, it'll come back.
See you guys. See you.
All right.
right.
See
See
you.
you, Steve.
Yep.
Good night.
I guess we'll wrap it up for tonight. But
All right.
anyway, folks, y'all have a great week, and good luck with your wife's condition, John. I hate that for you, and for her. But man, what doesn't kill us makes us tough, maybe. I hope that's the truth.
Yeah. She's here. She's standing right next to me. She just handed me my nighttime meds. And you want to say hi to him, hon? Come on in here.
What's her name?
Here she
Hey,
is.
hey,
Joy.
Hey, Joy. How are you, Joy?
I'm Rusty. Nice to meet you. So, welcome to our nut house.
You're right, but I love it.
Thanks for making an appearance.
Yeah. I've been, what Dennis talked about last time with building a classic airplane. I've actually thought about building a half-A version of some of the classic airplanes. Might be fun. And I was thinking about you with your background in half-A's. And so what I thought I'd do, would be I can design the wing, and I can get the tail. I'd leave the wingtips off, doing half-A versions of the classic airplane.
Yeah.
Live streaming is on.
And there it is. And I could design the wing and basic tail. I could then put that in a PDF file, and we could just take it off, post it on Stunthangar, and you just take it off, get it printed at full size. You got the wing, the ribs, and the stab and elevator, and
Right.
From there you can put whatever plane you want in the middle of that. Whether it's like an Olympic or whatever, and we could do it at half-A size and make it a lot less lumber we put in it, and it would actually, we could probably come up with one that's as good as the three top half-A stunners, the 80 Pathfinder, the Tercel, and what's the other one? Anyway, those will fly a good full pattern easily at 40-45 feet on a half-A. It might be a fun way to do it. What do you think?
I love the idea, actually. I like to build for flying on 40 feet. That's my favorite length to fly half-A on. That's with either a
Yeah.
Norvell or TD.
Yeah. I've got a big MiG 61, so I can fly. I can fly at 40 feet easily, probably 53
Yeah,
feet in
I've
the
got a
water.
school of 45, depending on what I'm flying. And if I got a good calm day and I want to really prop it up, you know, I can put
Mhm.
that 45 foot on and I fly the baby flight streaks. I got 2 baby flight streaks and a little Satan. And the baby flight streaks, I think, would be a great pattern plane. They could stand to be a little longer. So maybe kit bash a Skyray into a baby flight streak looking thing.
Yeah.
That's what I did. When I graduated from beginner to intermediate, I kit bashed a Skyray 35 to look like a flight streak. Now, a keen eye could tell the length of the fuselage was longer, but I put the proportional wing and square inch area of the stab to match the Skyray too, as much as I could design it and measure it out to be the same square inches. And it was a good flying plane. It was really light. It was I called it the Osprey, and it'll be in the calendar too, I think. And it was a great flying plane until I started showing off one day and bashed it to a million pieces. So I put contest alpha ribs in it, and they just powdered when it hit the ground.
Now, the guys here take the regular flight streak and they extend the tail on it, and it really makes that as good as a flight streak flies. It makes it fly better.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway,
it's got better leverage for graceful maneuvers.
right. Well, you got more power in the tail, so you
Mhm.
can. It just works better with a longer tail on it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, more
I'll
leverage is the way I look at it. So, but yeah, I
I'll
think.
work on that.
I'll
I'll
see you guys
work on
later.
that and
See you
see
later.
you later, Charles. I'll
Good
work
night.
on it, see what we can come up with in the
Yeah,
next
I
couple
think
weeks.
that's a great idea, though.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, John. Have a good week. Do something fun. Come back and tell us about it, and we'll see you maybe Friday.
All right, see you maybe Friday.
Good night.
Have a good week and great holidays to you.
And all you tubers out there, we appreciate your donations. We got a couple of super chat donations tonight. I think there was about 8 or 10 of you watching, and so we appreciate y'all coming in and watching us talk and contributing to our conversation. And until Friday, fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see y'all later. Same bat time, same bat channel. All right. Good night.
Good night.